Chapter 606. Whenever he thought about the meet and greet with his in-laws the next day, even though Yang Cheng had been through a lot, he couldn't help but feel uneasy. He didn't sleep much the whole night. Fortunately, his body didn't need to sleep. It was just a habit, and it wouldn't affect his mental state. The next morning, when he walked downstairs, Guo was already having breakfast with Lin Ruoxi and Jinxiu. Yang Cheng sat down and started eating quietly. In the past, Yang Cheng would always talk about random things, but this time he had something on his mind, and it was a heavy issue, so he felt a little uneasy. "Brother Yang, why are you so quiet?" "It's not like you," Jinxiu said, feeling strange. Lin Ruoxi was sipping her porridge. When she heard Jinxiu's words, she glanced at Yang Cheng meaningfully, but didn't say anything. Yang Cheng was a little worried, but he pretended to be fine and smiled. "I'm not a chatterbox. Why would I talk like that? Just eat your food and don't ask so many questions. Don't you need to go to school later?" Jinxiu wrinkled her nose, disdaining Yang Cheng's lecture. She made a face and didn't think much about it. Lin Ruoxi didn't eat much and stood up. She said to Guo, "Mom, I have a lot of things to do in the company these few days. I don't have time to accompany you. Why don't we go out for dinner? I know a good seafood restaurant, but I haven't had the chance to go." Guo was stunned. Dinner? If it was in the past, she would definitely be happy to have such an opportunity to go out with her family. But today, she didn't know if they would talk about dinner. She could only smile and say, "Ruoxi, forget about it if you're busy. We'll have plenty of opportunities next time. I'm going out to meet an old friend today anyway. Forget about it." "I see." Lin Ruoxi nodded thoughtfully and didn't ask any more questions. The breakfast was a little dull. After Jinxiu went to class and Lin Ruoxi rushed to work, Yang Cheng and Guo heaved a sigh of relief. Guo sighed helplessly. "I really don't know why I agreed to do such a thing for you. Not to mention that I don't even know what to say when we meet today. If Ruoxi finds out that I helped you meet another woman, I will lose all my face." Yang Cheng smiled embarrassedly. "Mom, your face isn't old. You're young and beautiful." Guo smiled. "When did you learn how to flatter me? It looks like you're really anxious. Aren't you going to do what I promised you?" Yang Cheng was really uneasy. He only felt more at ease after hearing Guo's confirmation. After getting ready at home, Yang Cheng and Guo went out one after another. Since Mother Wang was still at home, it wasn't appropriate for them to go out together. On the other hand, Ma Guifeng went to Annie Xiang's restaurant to help out. After working for 2 hours, Mo Qianni drove them to the tea house. Along the way, Ma Guifeng asked Mo Qianni about her in-laws' hobbies, interests, and background. But how would Mo Qianni know about that? She used to meet Guo as Lin Ruoxi's sister. She didn't dare to talk too much about it, so she didn't know anything. Ma Guifeng blamed Mo Qianni for not caring about Yang Cheng's parents, which made Mo Qianni feel wronged. How could she have the chance to care about them? In the past, when Guo came home, she mostly chatted with Xiangwei. She didn't dare to talk too much for fear of giving herself away. Ma Guifeng didn't have any expensive clothes on, but she still dressed more decently and neatly than usual. Even if she didn't have much money, she couldn't be too shabby. Mo Qianni was on a working day anyway, so her makeup was decent, so she didn't have to make any extra preparations. When they arrived at Longjing Tea House, Yang Cheng's car was already parked outside. Mo Qianni recognized it at a glance, and her heart was relieved. No matter what, Guo really came. The mother and daughter held hands and walked into the freshly decorated tea house together. Because the tea house was filled with small private rooms, they had to ask the waiter at the counter to know which private room Yang Cheng had booked. Guo chose this place carefully. She couldn't guarantee that this meeting would lead to some kind of intense conversation. If it was in public or in a place where voices could easily be heard, it would be a big loss of face. The tea house was well sealed. If they spoke loudly, no one outside could hear them. In a private room, Guo carefully thought about what she should say when they met later. The fact that her son was married definitely couldn't be hidden for long, but if she said it directly, the other party would definitely find it hard to accept. Therefore, she had to think of a way to persuade the girl's mother to relax and let the children solve the problem themselves. If Guxiuehua was just a woman from an ordinary family, she definitely wouldn't agree to help Yang Cheng. However, as a member of a rich and powerful family, Guxiuehua had seen many complicated relationships between men and women. Polygamy was not allowed by law, but it didn't mean that the men from these big families didn't dare to do it. To put it bluntly, even Premier Hua Xia, Ning Guangyao, had an illegitimate daughter, which was her daughter-in-law, Lin Ruoxi. Could those other men be innocent? Therefore, with a vision that transcended the law, Guxiuehua dared to give it a try. In the end, she could use the status of the Yang family to persuade the other party's elders. As she sipped her tea and thought about what to say, Guxiuehua suddenly remembered that she hadn't asked the girl's name. Why didn't her son take the initiative to mention it? He always avoided it. She quickly asked Yang Cheng, "Son, you should tell me the girl's name now. What should I call her when we meet later?" Yang Cheng deliberately didn't say it. At this time, he could only confess. He smiled awkwardly and said, "Actually, you should have met her before. Her name is Mo Chinny." Mo Chinny? Guxiuehua frowned. Her mind suddenly exploded. She exclaimed, "What did you say?" "It's Chinny." Yang Cheng touched his nose and nodded. Guxiuehua suddenly understood a lot of things. In the end, she was annoyed and amused at the same time. She said, "You bad boy. Even your mother was fooled by you. No wonder you didn't want to tell me your name. You've been hiding it from me. How is this fooling? Isn't the same now?" Yang Cheng smiled and said, "Anyway, we're going to meet later. Isn't it better that we know each other before?" Guxiuehua sighed helplessly. But then, a thought flashed through her mind. She shouted in her heart, "Oh no," and stood up from her seat. Yang Cheng looked at her and asked, "Mom, what's wrong with you? Why are you so suspicious?" "Something's wrong." Guxiuehua frowned and muttered to herself, "If that girl is Chinny, that means that her mother isn't, no matter how smart Yang Cheng was." He was stunned for a moment. He didn't know what Guxiuehua was worried about. Guxiuehua, on the other hand, wished that everything in front of her was a dream. She suddenly understood many things. The good son-in-law that Ma Guifang mentioned the other day was none other than Yang Cheng. Moreover, she had told them that Yang Cheng had married Lin Ruoxi. Now, they didn't even need to talk when they met. She didn't even give them a chance to persuade them. Just when Guxiuehua was having a headache and didn't know what to do, the door of the private room was finally open from the outside. Ma Guifang and her daughter, who were holding hands intimately, smiled awkwardly as they walked into the private room. They came face to face with Guxiuehua. Guxiuehua gritted her teeth and frowned. She looked at Ma Guifang anxiously and then at Mo Chinny speechlessly. Mo Chinny felt that the atmosphere in the private room was not right. She looked at Yang Cheng, who had also stood up from his seat. However, Yang Cheng shrugged, indicating that he didn't know what was wrong with Guxiuehua. Ma Guifang was the one who changed the fastest. She was originally nervous, but now she was confused and surprised. She looked at Yang Cheng and then at Guxiuehua. She smiled and asked, "Sister Xiuehua, so your good son is Yang Cheng?" Chapter 607. Guxiuehua really wanted to dig a hole and hide in it. At the same time, she really wanted to hit Yang Chen's head a few times. If it wasn't for the fact that Yang Chen kept telling her that the girl he wanted to meet was Mo Chinny, she wouldn't have made such a blunder. Ma Guifang did not need to ask anything. She understood everything just by looking at the situation in front of her. When Mo Chinny heard her mother's words, her heart skipped a beat. She had a bad feeling and forced a smile. "Mom, met Anigua?" Ma Guifang glanced at her daughter coldly. "Not only have we met, we even call each other sisters." Mo Chinny felt as if her whole body had fallen into an ice cellar. She had only seen her mother in such a state when she was young and naive. She had only seen her mother like this when she was caught stealing sweet potatoes. Her mother's coldness at that time was exactly the same as now. This was Ma Guifang's state of anger, which was why she was acting like this. "Mom, don't be like this." Mo Chinny's body trembled slightly. She lowered her head and did not dare to look at her mother. Yang Cheng also realized that something was wrong. Guo Xuehua and Ma Guifang were already acquainted. Looking at his mother-in-law's fierce expression, could it be, Sister Ma? Let me explain. Don't explain. Ma Guifang interrupted Guo Xuehua and said sternly, I was wondering why the two of you were so intimate but did not dare to talk about marriage. You didn't even mention your family. So it's because you don't dare to talk about it. You can't talk about it. Guo Xuehua wanted to say something but did not know what to say. Sister Xuehua, your son Yangcheng is already married. Why are you here to meet me and talk about your children's marriage? Are you trying to fool me? Ma Guifang was so angry that her face turned red. Ma Guifang, am not a rich woman, and I'm not cultured, but I know what shame means. How shameless can you be? Do you still have any respect for the law? Mom, don't be angry. Actually, shut up. Ma Guifang immediately stopped Mo Qianni from speaking. She widened her eyes and said, Mo Qianni, are you trying to anger your mother to death? I gave birth to you and raised you just to let you be someone else's mistress? Why did you have to steal another woman's husband? Do you know who his wife is? It was old President Lin's granddaughter, Lin Ruoshi. Your benefactor's granddaughter. Your good friend Lin Ruoshi. You even want to touch Lin Ruoshi's husband. Do you still have a conscience? Mo Qianni's eyes reddened, and tears instantly gushed out. Ma Guifang's words were like countless poisonous thorns, piercing the most tender part of her heart. Of course, she knew that it was wrong of her to be a mistress. Of course, she knew that it was wrong of her to touch Lin Ruoshi's husband. She also knew that doing so would disappoint her mother. However, she had already done so, hadn't she? When love came, she couldn't stop it at all. How could she not struggle and try? But under the coincidence of failure, these things happened just like that. She had also asked herself, if it wasn't for Lin Ruoshi and Yang Cheng's contract marriage, and she had an excuse, would she still have a relationship with Yang Cheng like a moth flying into a flame? The answer was yes. She couldn't deceive her feelings towards Yang Cheng. She couldn't imagine what would happen if Yang Cheng rejected her. It would indeed be painful, it would indeed be hurt, but she was more willing to believe that all of this was worth it. It was because of this constant self-consolation and encouragement that Mo Qianni dared to bring Ma Guifang to see Guo Xuehua. But before they even started talking, Ma Guifang had already shattered all of her beautiful fantasies. Mom, I know I'm wrong. Mo Qianni sobbed. Her body seemed to collapse. I know I'm sorry to Ruoshi, but you don't need to say any more. Come back with me now, and I'll pretend nothing happened, or else. Ma Guifang didn't have the slightest intention of softening her heart. You choose. Do you want me to be your mother? Or do you want to continue to be a mistress? The meaning of her words was that if she didn't sever the relationship, she would sever the relationship between mother and daughter. Mo Qianni's face instantly turned pale, and her tears stopped. She doubted whether she had heard wrongly, but looking at Ma Guifang's serious and stern expression, she knew that Ma Guifang wasn't joking. Yang Cheng felt a burst of heartache. Seeing Mo Qianni sobbing, he clenched his fist tightly. It was Ma Guifang who had caused Mo Qianni to cry like that. However, Yang Cheng couldn't treat Ma Guifang like he would anyone else. He wouldn't beat her up or remove her name from the list. That was Mo Qianni's biological mother, his elder, and indeed, he was in the wrong. Yang Cheng could only endure it, walked forward, and said in a low voice, Mom, don't call me Mom. Ma Guifang glared fiercely at Yang Cheng, like an angry female leopard. I'm not worthy of you calling me Mom, and I don't want to have a son-in-law like you. Yang Cheng, as an elder, let me give you a piece of advice out of goodwill. Be honest and live your life with your wife. Don't be half-hearted and flirt with other people's girls outside. I know that you might be rich, and I know that you might be very capable, but no matter how much money you have, no matter how capable you are, it's impossible to give happiness to different women at the same time. Because when you accept different women, you're causing the greatest harm to the woman who was originally following you. Yang Cheng was speechless, and the words that he wanted to beg couldn't be said. Ma Guifang didn't read much, and didn't see much of the world, but she had experienced the vicissitudes of life and the fickleness of human nature, which made her have an unimaginable wealth in life. Her words were like a dose of tranquilizer, extinguishing the flame of hope in Yang Cheng's mind. Guo Xiuhua, who was standing there without moving, could only silently lower her head. She was also a mature woman, and she knew that she couldn't refute Ma Guifang. Even Guo Xiuhua's heart was filled with the most disgusted feeling. Perhaps she shouldn't have helped Yang Cheng from the beginning, because it wasn't a matter of whether the phenomenon existed or not, but it was all a mistake. Ma Guifang breathed heavily and finally looked at Guo Xiuhua and Yang Cheng with deep meaning. She turned to Mo Qianni, who was in a daze, and said, "Girl, don't be so stubborn. I won't harm you. Let's go. You shouldn't have come here." Mo Qianni didn't say anything, and she bit her lips tightly. Tears streamed down her delicate and fair face, and her makeup was ruined. "Why, you don't want to go?" "Okay." Ma Guifang nodded and said sadly, "It seems that you don't even want your own mother because you want to be someone else's lover." "That's right. I'm a burden to you, an old woman with no culture, no status, and no money. Who would want me to be their mother?" "No." Mo Qianni shook her head suddenly and quickly wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes. "Mom, I didn't mean that. Don't be angry. I'll go with you." Ma Guifang was relieved, and she reached out to touch Mo Qianni's face and said with distress, "Since things have come to this point, let's just end it like this. Go home. Mom will pretend that nothing happened. Even if you don't marry for the rest of your life, Mom doesn't want you to be a mistress. Do you understand?" Mo Qianni nodded numbly, and she couldn't think of anything else. Ma Guifang smiled and reached out to hold Mo Qianni's hand and turned to leave. Yang Cheng wanted to persuade her to stay, but was stopped by Guo Xiuhua, who walked to his side. "Don't go." Guo Xiuhua grabbed Yang Cheng's hand and shook her head. "Sister Ma is a straightforward person. You will only make her angrier. We owe them, even if you want to redeem it. Wait until Sister Ma's anger calms down." Yang Cheng smiled bitterly. "Is there a chance to redeem it?" "I don't know," Guo Xiuhua sighed. "It all depends on how far you can go." "Yang Cheng, this matter, or should I say regarding your relationship in the future, Mom really can't be involved anymore. Mom can be deaf and blind, but Mom can't be a pushback, and I hope you won't blame Mom." Yang Cheng nodded stiffly. "I'm grateful that you don't object." Chapter 608. The originally meticulously planned meeting ended before it even began. Yang Cheng was distressed to find out that the problem between him and Mo Qianni was the biggest headache for him. Mo Qianni's background couldn't be compared to Choi Yun, An Xin, or Lu Mingyu. She was just an ordinary white-collar worker in the city. Because of this, his relationship with her was the most simple and ordinary. How could the parents of an ordinary family accept their daughter brazenly becoming someone else's mistress? This was unimaginable, and it was also despised by the world. Because in Ma Guifang's eyes, her daughter should do her job and get married safely. Mo Qianni's special feelings were strictly stopped. Yang Cheng had a body full of martial arts and countless wealth, but he couldn't use these to ask others to send their daughter to him, because he didn't want to buy a woman, and he didn't want to snatch a woman. If he couldn't get Ma Guifang to agree, Yang Cheng knew that even if Mo Qianni did end up with him, she would be full of regret for the rest of her life. Thinking about these troublesome things, Yang Cheng wasn't in the mood to go to work. After sending Guo Xiuhua home, he drove alone and wandered aimlessly in the car. When the car drove to a river in the city, Yang Cheng suddenly remembered that this was the river where he met Tang Wan for the first time. That day, he was returning to the rented house from Old Li's house. In the blink of an eye, another year had passed. Parking the car under the shade of a tree, Yang Cheng got out of the car, walked to the river, and found a chair to sit down. It was noon, and there weren't many people by the river. Yang Cheng bought 2 packs of cigarettes from a small shop, found a chair for tourists to rest on, and sat down alone. Looking at the not-so-clear river, he puffed out smoke rings and stared at it in a daze. In his mind, Ma Guifang's sharp words and Mo Qianni's helpless and sad appearance appeared over and over again. Yang Cheng felt a tightness in his chest, but he couldn't get rid of it. Yangqing bitterly realized that no matter what realm his cultivation was promoted to, the word love was always an unavoidable wall. It seemed that it would extend infinitely. No matter what realm you jumped to, it would always limit you not far away. It was a kind of protection, a sense of security, and also a kind of barrier. Just as Yangqing finished smoking the first pack of cigarettes and was about to open another pack, his mobile phone vibrated. Yangqing thought it was Guxiuehua who was worried about him, but he found that it was Jane who was calling. Picking up the phone, Yangqing tried his best to sound relaxed. "Our great scientist, do you have any instructions for Miss Jane? Why are you calling me at lunchtime?" Jane giggled. "I wouldn't dare to instruct you. I'm just reporting that I've arrived at the airport, and I'm about to board the plane back to England." Yangqing was stunned. "That's sudden. Everything's been resolved?" "Of course. I've already analyzed the poison in Master Tang's body. There's no point in staying in Huaxia, and you don't have time to accompany me," said Jane, feeling wronged. Yangqing sweated. "No matter what, I have to thank you. Why didn't you let me send you off? You were in such a hurry to leave." Jane said, "I wasn't in a hurry to leave. I was prepared to leave. However, there's nothing special about you sending me off. It's not like you're going to give me a goodbye kiss. I thought about it, and I can't bear to see you off. I might as well not see you off. I don't need you to send me off as a friend. If you have a conscience, you can always visit me in Europe." Yangqing smiled awkwardly. Indeed, he would only be able to wave goodbye to Jane when he went to the airport. Jane seemed to be able to see Yangqing's embarrassment. She smiled and said, "Oh, right. Let me tell you, Henya will be leaving with me. Before I leave Huaxia, I'll be safe with her by my side. You don't mind using your subordinates, do you?" "Of course not." Yangqing remembered that he had told Hanya to return to Japan. It wasn't a bad idea for her to follow Jane. In any case, she shouldn't stay in Huaxia and make the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade suspicious. After saying goodbye to Jane, Yangqing felt guilty. It would be a lie to say that he didn't like a beautiful girl like Jane who was loyal to him. However, he had watched her grow up, and he had an ambiguous relationship with Catherine. If he really touched Jane, he would feel like he was taking advantage of her, and it wouldn't be fair to the mother and daughter, even if they didn't think so. All kinds of complex emotional factors, coupled with his own emotional debt, made Yangqing not dare to open his heart to Jane rashly. He could only avoid her as much as he could and pretend to be deaf and dumb. However, Jane's call reminded Yangqing that he was in such a mess now. Why not talk to Tang Wan? Tang Wan was indeed a good person to talk to. So, Yangqing found Tang Wan's cell phone number and dialed it. It was also rare for him to take the initiative to call a woman. The phone was quickly connected. Tang Wan's soft voice was particularly charming on the phone. "I was going to call you if you didn't call. You know that Miss Jane returned to England, right? She didn't let me tell you before." Yangqing responded, "I've finished talking to her. As for you, old Master Tang's condition is better, and the toxins have been analyzed. You should be relieved. I'm in a good mood now. I haven't been so relaxed for a long time. I really want to thank you. You may not know how important Grandpa is to me and the Tang family. As long as he is healthy, I feel that I have a backbone." Tang Wan smiled and said, "I was going to treat you to a good meal, but I have to go back to Yinjing with Grandpa tomorrow. Grandpa said that he would go back to hold a family meeting, so I have to attend, so I have to wait until next time. You also have to go." Yangqing was depressed. Tang Wan laughed and said, "Why? You seem to be very reluctant to leave me. It seems that you still care about me." Yangqing's old face was a little red. Fortunately, the phone could not be seen. "Why do you have to hold a family meeting? Are you going to take Tang Dang with you?" Tang Wan said, "During the period when Grandpa was sick, there were all kinds of rumors in the family, and there was a split. Of course, we have to reorganize. Tang Dang has also grown up and is a descendant of the Tang family. Even if she marries into the Yang family in the future, she will still be a part of the Tang family. Of course, she has to go back and attend. That child is very smart and especially clings to her great-grandpa. She knows that my grandpa can give her benefits." Yangqing felt uncomfortable and said, "What do you mean by marrying into the Yang family?" "She is marrying Yuan Yi, a member of the Yuan family." "Isn't the Yuan family a branch of the Yang family?" Tang Wan paused and said, "Yang Cheng, don't blame me for being straightforward. I didn't want to mention this at first, but I don't think there is anything to avoid. If I pretend not to know, we will be too unfamiliar. As far as I know, old Yang cares more about you than Yang Lai. You have to perform well. Who knows, maybe in the future, the Yang family will be handed over to you." Yang Cheng originally wanted to talk to Tang Wan about Mo Qianni. He didn't expect that Tang Wan would suddenly mention the Yang family. "I have no interest in the Yang family," Yang Cheng said with a light smile. "It's not as simple as you think," Tang Wan said earnestly. "Perhaps you do have extraordinary strength, but in Huaxia, there must be a reason why the four major families can control Beijing for so long. Although I am one of the successors of the Tang family, I vaguely know that the Tang family is not as simple as just doing business. I believe that the Yang family is not as simple as just controlling a portion of the military. Moreover, think about it. If you plan to continue living in Huaxia, then an additional identity as a member of the Yang family will only bring you a lot of convenience. At the very least, there won't be any blind people who will provoke you or touch the people around you. Right? Also, I know that your mother is with you now and hasn't returned to the Yang family, but do you really think that your mother likes to be separated from her family? If you can enter the Yang family, then everything will be under your control. Many things will become justifiable." Yang Chen's eyes lit up. An absurd idea popped up in his mind. If he could become the head of the Yang family, then it would be much easier for him to have more than one woman by his side. It wasn't that such a thing could be publicized, but with his identity as the head of the Yang family, having more than one woman was also a reflection of his strength. If others wanted to say anything, they could only do it in secret. In this way, his women wouldn't have too many troubles, and many people would even envy them. Actually, if it was abroad, Yang Cheng didn't need the identity of the Yang family at all, and no one would dare say anything. However, the problem was that he was going to live in Huaxia in the future, so he couldn't use his fierce reputation abroad to do things. If this was in the past, it definitely wouldn't work. Back then, when he was separated from Guo Xiuhua, it was because Guo Xiuhua was pregnant out of wedlock, and it was a disgrace to the family's reputation, so he sent him to the orphanage. But now the world had changed. Those with power and money, not to mention getting pregnant out of wedlock, even if they brazenly had an affair, no one would dare to say anything. Therefore, there were two sides to everything. In this world, people's hearts weren't as they used to be, but it also made it convenient for Yang Cheng to find another way. Of course, this was just an idea. If he really wanted to do it, it would be quite difficult for Yang Cheng. Not to mention that he was just an outsider who had just returned to Huaxia for 2 years, without any foundation, and also carrying a notorious reputation. Even if Yang Gongming was willing to give the position of the head of the Yang family to him, it was still a problem whether other people would approve of it or not. Moreover, if he became the head of the family, could he really keep all the women by his side without any scruples? If the women were willing, then what about others? For example, his mother-in-law, Ma Guifeng. Chapter 609. Since Tang Wan was going back to Beijing, Yang Cheng didn't want to make things difficult for her. He simply wished them a safe journey and hung up. After talking about these things, the depression in Yang Cheng's heart dissipated a lot. He looked at the time, and it was already afternoon. He remembered that he had promised to find time to visit Lu Mingyu's new place, so he called Lu Mingyu. Lu Mingyu was in her office looking at some new project documents. She had been quite busy these days. After Lin Ruoxi returned from Europe, she didn't relax, but increased the expansion efforts. All kinds of acquisitions, mergers, and integrations came one after another. The terrifying financial resources of Yulei were like a raging bull. Every PR department was running around all day, talking about this and that. Receiving Yang Cheng's call, Lu Mingyu took off her black-framed glasses and smiled. She could roughly guess the reason why Yang Cheng called. She picked up the call and asked, "Are you free now?" Yang Cheng was stunned and smiled bitterly. Was his mind that simple? Lu Mingyu guessed it right away. "When are you getting off work? I'll pick you up." "It's not like I don't have a car," Lu Mingyu said. "You're also from Yulei. You should know when to get off work." Yang Cheng rubbed his nose. "You don't have to be so harsh when you're one of us. I'm just being considerate." "Hypocrite. Just say it if you want to skip work. Lu Mingyu smiled. Yang Cheng felt wronged. He really didn't mean to ask her to skip work. But on second thought, Lu Mingyu did it on purpose. So he went with the flow and smiled. Since you found out about this, you should skip work. I'll pick you up right away. It won't feel good if I take a different car to your place. At least you know what's good for you. Lu Mingyu immediately hung up. Lu Mingyu was really tired from work these days. It was rare for her to have some private space with Yang Cheng. She also wanted to put her work on hold for the time being, so she thought of skipping work. Half an hour later, Yang Cheng drove Lu Mingyu out of the parking lot of Yulei International. Adele's music was still playing in the car. Xiangwei had bought it yesterday and hadn't changed it. Lu Mingyu asked curiously, I didn't know that you would like to listen to Adele's songs. I thought that a heartless man like you should listen to some easy and simple songs. What do you mean by heartless? Yang Cheng pursed his lips in dissatisfaction. Can't you use another adjective? Like suave, unrestrained, and so on. Besides, this CD isn't for me. Then who is it for? Lu Mingyu was confused. Yang Cheng fidgeted and said, Yesterday, Qiangwei listened to it when she was sitting in my car. Lu Mingyu knew Qiangwei. Because of Lu Qingshan, she already knew that Yang Cheng had a lover, the president of the Red Thorn Society, Sidu Qiangwei. Now that she heard Yang Cheng say it, she nodded. So it's her. If there's a chance in the future, I'll meet her. Yang Cheng laughed to himself. You two women can be considered kindred spirits. After the car drove for a while, Yang Cheng remembered and asked, You haven't told me where you live yet. Lu Mingyu pondered for a while and said, Don't go to my place for now. Let's go to the market so that I can buy some fresh vegetables and meat. Come to my place to cook tonight. Of course, Yang Cheng had no objections. Speaking of which, he had a lot of women around him. Only Mo Qianni and Lin Ruoxi could cook. They were still in the training stage. Therefore, if Lu Mingyu wanted to show off her skills, he would be happy to enjoy it. When the car arrived at the market, Yang Cheng accompanied Lu Mingyu out of the car. The two of them were like an ordinary young couple who came to buy groceries on their way home from work. Before Lu Mingyu knew the real identity of her father, she had been growing up like an ordinary girl in Zhonghai City. Therefore, she could do everything that ordinary girls could do. Along the way, Lu Mingyu had to haggle over the price of whatever she wanted, regardless of whether it was vegetables or meat. She would argue with her husband for a long time, and even put on a show of leave if you don't want to sell it. Yang Cheng had to play along and make an impatient expression. Yang Cheng looked at this scene and felt it was quite fresh. He didn't know if Lin Ruoxi would be like this when she accompanied Mother Wang to buy groceries. It was probably very difficult. Although Lin Ruoxi had been talking more recently, she was still cold to strangers. Haggling? She might not even do it in her next life. Every time they bought something at a low price, Lu Mingyu would show a radiant smile and hand the plastic bag to Yang Cheng before they went to the next store. Are you really that happy? We're not short of money, so why are you so happy when you're only saving a couple of yuan? Yang Cheng smiled. Pouting her lips, Lu Mingyu rolled her eyes at Yang Cheng and replied, What do you know? Money isn't the main point. The main point is the process of haggling. Haggling is a form of pleasure. If I don't haggle in the market, it'll be worse than killing me. Did your mother teach you this? Yang Cheng asked curiously. Nodding her head, Lu Mingyu smiled. When I was young, my father was still in Beijing, and my mother brought me up. The two of us didn't have a good life, so we naturally had to be frugal. I followed my mother and haggled for groceries and clothes, so I naturally got used to it. Although I'm working in a fashion company like Yulei International, I'm still clear about the prices in the market. Many things are just branded, and once the brand is removed, they're just street goods. Looking at Lu Mingyu's cute expression, Yang Cheng sighed. He knew that he didn't understand the women around him enough. He never expected that Lu Mingyu would have such a street side to her. However, if you love someone, you'll naturally love the thing she loves. Yang Cheng quickly got used to Lu Mingyu's shouting and haggling. He even joined in the haggling war in the end, which made him very happy. Naturally, it wasn't fast to buy groceries in this manner. They only managed to buy everything after half an hour. By the time they arrived at Lu Mingyu's high-class apartment, it was already nighttime. The apartment in this district was designed to be environmentally friendly, and the air conditioner was regulated by geothermal and underground water technology. Although it was an apartment, the area was an entire floor, so the price could be comparable to some small villas. Lu Qingshan might not be much about other things, but he was willing to spend money on his daughter. Otherwise, with Lu Mingyu's salary, she wouldn't dare to buy such an apartment in her lifetime. Yang Chun carried bags of various sizes as he followed Lu Mingyu up the elevator to the top floor. Lu Mingyu was the only one living on this floor, which was rather wasteful. TSK. It's really different with a rich father. Yang Chung sighed with a smile. Lu Mingyu blushed. Actually, I didn't ask to buy this place. It was my father who insisted that I live here. What's there to be embarrassed about? He abandoned you and your mother to go to Beijing a few years ago. This is to make up for not taking good care of you all these years. You can spend his money as much as you want. He can't be more than happy. Yang Chung egged her on. Lu Mingyu ignored him and took out the key to open the door. Then, she asked Yang Chung to bring the things into the kitchen. The interior of the large apartment was decorated in a warm beige color. The light coffee-colored leather sofa, the gorgeous patterned wool carpet, and all kinds of the latest electronic products were available. There was even a magnetic massage bed that was worth tens of thousands of yuan. This place was even more luxurious than Lin Ruoshi, the CEO. The renovations and the house probably cost tens of millions. Lu Qingshan really invested a lot for this daughter of his. Just sit on the sofa. I'll go cook in the kitchen. We can eat in an hour. Lu Mingyu took off her work uniform and changed into a light blue shirt and white tights. She let down her hair and looked much more delicate. An hour? That's too long. Yang Chung said gloomily. I thought we could eat in half an hour. I'm already hungry. How about I help you? My cooking skills are average, but I'm a master chef when it comes to chopping. Can you do it? Lu Mingyu looked at Yang Chung doubtfully. What if I cut my finger? Even if I cut my finger, it wouldn't be because of my knife skills. It's definitely because of you. Yang Chung smiled. Why? Why would it be because of me? Lu Mingyu asked in return. Yang Chung showed a regretful expression. Who asked us to have a beautiful chef at home? She's so beautiful that she took my eyes away. Of course, I had to cut my finger. You're so talkative. I think you'll be fine after you seal your mouth. Lu Mingyu was happy in her heart, but she still snorted. The division of labor was decided. Yang Chung went into the kitchen to help cut the ingredients while Lu Mingyu cooked. The two of them chatted and laughed like a real couple. Yang Cheng's speed was very fast. He could do things like cutting potatoes with his eyes closed. After he was done, he leaned against the kitchen door and watched Lu Mingyu, who was wearing an apron and stirring the oil in the pot. Women often felt that men were especially attractive when they were doing things seriously. Men often felt that women who were serious about cooking were also very attractive. A faint warmth spread in Yang Cheng's heart. He recalled the little things they had experienced since they met. The time he could spend with her was very little. But in reality, Lu Mingyu really didn't want much. She was busy and worked hard to prepare this dinner because she knew that this was a rare opportunity, so she especially cherished it. Most of the time, love wasn't about getting something, but how much one wanted to give. Chapter 610. With Yang Cheng's help, a simple home-cooked meal consisting of 4 dishes and 1 soup was completed very quickly. The fragrant dishes were placed on the table, causing Yang Chung, who was already a little gluttonous, to have an appetite. Lu Mingyu took off her apron. After working for so long, there were some fine beads of sweat on her forehead, and her hair was slightly messy. She looked more like a housewife than a company executive. Let's drink some wine. No matter what, this is the first time you've come to my place for dinner, Lu Mingyu suggested with a smile. Yang Ching nodded and agreed. But do you have wine here? I'll go out and buy some. Yes, wait a moment, Lu Mingyu said and walked into a storage room. After a while, she took out 2 bottles of wine. 2 bottles of wine with no special packaging were placed on the table. Lu Mingyu said, This is a gift from my dad. He said it's imported wine and it tastes pretty good. I don't have the habit of drinking at home alone. It's good that you're here to help me get rid of it. Yang Chung didn't look at it carefully before. Now that he took it and looked at it, he was stunned for a moment. He then asked to confirm, Is this really a gift from your dad? Lu Mingyu asked doubtfully, what's wrong? Can't my dad give me wine? Didn't your dad tell you that this is Romani Kani? What is this? What's the brand of this wine? I don't know much about wine. Is it good? Lu Mingyu thought that the wine given by her father wouldn't be bad. Otherwise, why would he give it to her daughter? Yang Cheng shook his head with a bitter smile. It seemed like Lu Qingshan didn't know the value of this wine. Fortunately, he came today. Otherwise, these 2 bottles of wine would have been wronged. Mingyu babe, you know Lafite, right? Yang Cheng said. Lu Mingyu nodded. Of course I know Lafite. I think it costs 10 to 20,000 yuan a bottle. This wine is called Romani Kani. Its annual production is less than 1/50th of Lafite's. It's estimated that only 1 to 2,000 bottles will be sold on the market. Don't you think it's precious? Yang Cheng sighed. Having lived abroad for so many years, he had basically enjoyed all kinds of delicious food and fun things, and he was also familiar with high-end drinks. However, Romani Kani was a rare wine in the world, and he couldn't drink it often, so he knew how precious it was. Lu Mingyu's eyes widened. According to what you're saying, isn't this wine very expensive? If we were to buy on the market, it would cost at least 100,000 Huaxia dollars, and we might not even be able to buy it. Yang Cheng chuckled, but since we got it, let's drink it. This wine is meant to be drunk. It would be a waste to just leave it there. Upon hearing that this seemingly ordinary bottle of wine cost 100,000 Huaxia dollars, Lu Mingyu felt like she was dreaming. But just like what Yang Cheng said, since it was wine, let's drink it. The 2 of them opened a bottle and filled it to the brim. Then, they began to enjoy their dinner while drinking and eating. Speaking of which, if an expert saw such a high-end red wine, he would definitely savor it carefully. How could he treat it as an ordinary wine and drink it along with the dishes? However, Yang Cheng didn't really care about these luxuries, and Lu Mingyu didn't have much experience with wine, so the 2 didn't think too much of it. Even if they casually drank it, it would cost a few thousand Huaxia dollars. The 2 chatted about some trivial matters and talked about some recent events in the company. Unknowingly, they finished the bottle of red wine. Lu Mingyu's alcohol tolerance wasn't too good. After drinking 2 glasses, her cheeks were already red, and her eyes were blurry. Tisk tisk. Yang Cheng savored the fragrance of the wine and sighed. Life is indeed different after becoming the daughter of a mafia boss. Can I be considered to have benefited from Missy Lu today? Lu Mingyu's pretty face was slightly tipsy, and under the light, she looked even more charming. Don't call me Missy. I don't like it, and I'm not used to it. What's there to not be used to? As long as you have such a father, you will definitely hear others call you that. Some girls don't even get called that even if they want to be called that. Yang Cheng smiled. Lu Mingyu rolled her eyes at Yang Cheng. She held the wine glass in her hand and looked at the intoxicating red wine gently. She said, "Every time I see my father discussing with his underlings about the mafia, I feel very scared. Although he didn't accompany me and my mother in the past, and he was in Beijing, I always felt that he was doing business, and there was nothing to worry about. But now, even if he is in Zhonghai, I still feel worried, as if he could leave me at any time. Why can't he be a down-to-earth businessman, but the boss of a mafia? In the past, he would occasionally come back to Zhonghai to visit us. Even if it was for 1 or 2 days, I felt very happy to see him. Now, if I want, I can see him every day. He still loves me, gives me a lot of power, and gives me a lot of money. But now that I see him, I don't know why, but I don't feel as happy as before." Yang Cheng listened quietly and thought to himself, maybe it wasn't because of Lu Mingyu's alcohol tolerance that she got drunk so quickly. It wasn't the wine that intoxicated her. It was the wine that intoxicated her. "Yang Cheng, am I very cheap? Dad clearly wants to give me better conditions, but I want to move out and alienate him." Lu Mingyu pouted her pink lips and asked with misty eyes. "Of course not. It's not like you don't recognize him as your father." Yang Cheng knew that at this time, what Lu Mingyu needed was a kind of comfort. "Actually, I admire you very much. For so many years, you have been lied to by your father since you were young, and only recently did you find out the truth, and you can accept all of this. What's more, your father has other women in Beijing, and even sent you a younger brother for no reason. If these changes were to happen to other girls, they would either hate their father to death or hate everyone who lied to them to death. Yet, you quietly accept these things and even get along well with your younger brother. It's hard not to admire your breadth of mind. Lu Mingyu smiled calmly, tilted her head, leaned on the table, and murmured, "It's already happened. What can I do? Regardless of whether they lied to me or not, my father is my biological son, and my younger brother is related by blood. Should I still seek death and fight with them? That's not good for anyone." Yang Cheng became silent. The rational Lu Mingyu could accept that kind of father and half-brother, but he couldn't accept Yang Pejuan and Yang Lai, even if his blood relationship with Yang Lai was much closer than that of Lu Mingyu and Lu Mingho. However, when there really was hatred between relatives, it was far more terrifying than between enemies. Seeing that Yang Cheng didn't speak, Lu Mingyu pouted and asked, "Yang Cheng, why haven't I heard you talk about your family? What does your family do? Are they in Zhonghai?" After being asked, Yang Cheng remembered that it was time for him to tell the women around him about his current family situation. He didn't hide anything from them, and now that they knew each other's backgrounds, they wouldn't be too surprised to meet each other's relatives in the future. Of course, Yang Cheng didn't have the patience to tell them about his background, so he only briefly mentioned that he had the blood of the Yang family and that he had reunited with Guxiuhua. Even so, Lu Mingyu revealed a shocked expression. She stared blankly at Yang Cheng for a while, then suddenly burst into laughter and said coquettishly, "In that case, I've unknowingly hooked up with a crown prince. What a bargain." Yang Cheng rubbed his chin and said regretfully, "If there's really some special privileges, then I really want to be one. It's not like I can get everything I want just because I have this identity." Although Lu Mingyu was a little drunk, she still retained a trace of sobriety. "What's wrong? You seem to have something on your mind. You've never spoken in such a depressed manner before." Yang Cheng drank the red wine in his glass in one gulp and didn't hide anything. He briefly told her about what happened with Mo Qianni in the morning. A complicated expression flashed through Lu Mingyu's eyes, and she sighed softly in the end. "Have you thought of what to do?" "What else can I do? I'll wait for mother-in-law's anger to cool down a little. Then I'll apologize and talk about it properly." Yang Cheng smiled bitterly. Lu Mingyu nodded. "I thought you were going to give up, so I was a little worried." Yang Cheng was stunned for a moment. Then he suddenly understood. To put it bluntly, Lu Mingyu was grieving for the death of the rabbit. If Yang Cheng gave up on Mo Qianni because of the obstruction, then he might also give up on her in the future. Don't let your imagination run wild. My biggest strength is that I'm shameless. Even if you want to abandon me, I won't leave." Yang Cheng said seriously. Lu Mingyu glanced at Yang Cheng with a smile that wasn't a smile. "I suddenly feel that it's actually not bad to have a gangster father. At least he won't be like Qianni's mother, who views the relationship between children from a secular point of view. Qianni must be suffering in her heart. You're really good at torturing people." Yang Cheng wanted to say something, but he swallowed it back. What could he say? During the day, he wanted to speak up for Mo Qianni, and he was very clear on how sad Mo Qianni was. However, he was also suffering, and there was no reason for him to take advantage of it. After eating dinner and drinking 3 glasses of red wine, Lu Mingyu's body was a little weak, but she still wanted to bring the dishes back to the kitchen. It was also because she had been used to doing housework for so many years that she would feel uncomfortable if she didn't finish it. Yang Cheng hurriedly pressed the woman back onto the chair and said, "You're already so drunk, yet you're still doing this. Just sit here obediently. I'll do it." "How can this be? This is your first time here. It's not appropriate for you to cut the vegetables. Don't tell me I need you to help me clean up." Lu Mingyu shook her head and reluctantly went to carry the plates. Yang Cheng simply snatched the plates away, bent down, and kissed Lu Mingyu's cheek. He smiled and said, "Don't take it for granted that you have to serve me. What I want is a woman who understands me, not a maid who does things." After saying that, he didn't care about Lu Mingyu standing there in a daze. He quickly cleaned up the dishes and brought them into the kitchen. After pouring out the leftovers, he began to wash the dishes again. Lu Mingyu sat in the dining room. looking at the back of Yang Chung washing the dishes in the kitchen. She felt hazy, and her face was burning hot. She subconsciously reached out and touched the place where Yang Chung had kissed her, and the corner of her mouth revealed a satisfied smile. Yang Chung wasn't someone who didn't know how to do housework. He had lived alone for quite a while, so he quickly tidied up his things and walked out of the kitchen. Originally, this was a romantic night. After all, he and Lu Mingyu hadn't been intimate for a long time. It was rare for her to be in her newly moved nest. Of course, he had to fight for hundreds of rounds in order to satisfy the expectations in his heart. However, when Yang Chung excitedly wanted to carry Lu Mingyu to take a bath, he discovered that this woman had actually fallen asleep on the table. Chapter 6:11. Yang Chung sighed helplessly and walked to Lu Mingyu's side. He quietly looked at the beautiful face in front of him and was lost in thought for a while. She had long and curved eyebrows, a tall and exquisite nose bridge, and plump pink and tender lips. Yang Chung had seen all of these before, but now that he was staring at her from such a close distance, he felt that she was a little unfamiliar. It was like this was clearly his woman, but it was like a strange woman. Suddenly, a strong panic filled his heart. Yang Chung subconsciously understood that it was because of the matter of Mo Chini being taken away by Ma Gue Fong in the morning, which really hit him. He began to be afraid that the woman who was originally by his side would really leave him, and he would be as helpless as he was in the morning. In the end, they would really become strangers. Yang Chung took a deep breath, and his eyes flashed. He clenched his fists tightly for a while before loosening them. Under the pale light, Yang Chung smiled and shook his head as if he was mocking himself. Then he stretched his hands to Lu Mingyu's legs and back, and picked up Lu Mingyu from the chair. Lu Mingyu fell asleep in a daze and didn't wake up. She seemed to be murmuring something in her sleep. Being hugged by Yang Chung, she pouted her pink lips charmingly, revealing a look of innocence that she didn't usually have. Yang Chung walked slowly into the bedroom with Lu Mingyu in his arms. He gently placed the woman on the big bed, pillowed her head, and pulled the blanket to cover her. Seeing that Lu Mingyu was still wearing high heels, he also took off her shoes. In this situation, there was no need to wake Lu Mingyu up to wash up. The flame that was originally burning in Yang Cheng's heart also somehow disappeared. Looking at Lu Mingyu's even breathing in her sleep, Yang Chung suddenly felt a wave of fatigue that he had never felt before. It wasn't his body that was tired, but his heart that was really tired. Yang Chung also wasn't in the mood to go home. He sent a text message to Guo Xuehua, saying that he wasn't going home. Then he took off his coat and pants and lay down on Lu Mingyu's big bed. Lu Mingyu seemed to feel something warm beside her. In her sleep, she instinctively leaned against Yang Cheng's side. Her head burrowed into Yang Cheng's chest, as if she was using Yang Chung as a pillow. Because of the alcohol, the woman's natural body fragrance was amplified and spread, lingering in Cheng's nose. Yang Chung felt the soft and tender body in his arms. Her plump chest was bulging, and even a little protrusion could be caught. If it was in the past, in such a scene, even if Lu Mingyu was drunk, Yang Chung also couldn't resist such a fragrant temptation. But at this moment, Yang Chung actually found that he didn't have the slightest thought of doing anything. He only hoped that the woman in his arms could sleep so peacefully. As long as he could hug her and feel her in his arms, he would be satisfied. Yang Chung turned his body to let Lu Mingyu better use his arm as a pillow. He hugged the woman in his arms to make her more comfortable. After doing this gently, Yang Chung kissed the woman's hair, closed his eyes, and fell asleep. The next day, late in the morning, Yang Chung opened his eyes sleepily. That night, he really slept very soundly. Logically speaking, with his cultivation, he should be awake even when he slept. He could sense everything around him. If he stayed in bed, it would just be because he was lazy. However, perhaps because he wanted to be completely quiet, Yang Chung let down all his guard and simply hugged Lu Mingyu to sleep for the night. The sunlight passed through the bedroom curtains and shone on the light brown wooden floor. The faint golden glow made the room feel particularly warm. Yang Chung felt a soft body still sticking to his side. He couldn't help but tighten the hand holding the woman, revealing a satisfied smile. Lu Mingyu actually woke up early. It was already past the time for work, but she didn't wake up Yang Cheng, nor did she plan to go to work. When she realized that she had actually fallen asleep last night, and Yang Cheng didn't do anything but sleep with her until dawn, the sweetness in her heart was indescribable. In the past, every time Yang Cheng came to find her, he would always think of ways to do bad things, causing Lu Mingyu to occasionally suspect that he came to find her just to satisfy his physical pleasure. But now, it seemed that she was thinking too much. This man still knew how to take care of her. "Why aren't you talking when you're awake?" Lu Mingyu raised her head. Her hair was already messy, and she asked lazily. Yang Cheng closed his eyes and smiled. "It's been a long time since I've slept so seriously. I don't really want to wake up." Lu Mingyu roughly guessed that Yang Cheng was still upset about Mo Chinny's matter, which is why he said that. But she couldn't help much, so she said gently, "Get up, it's almost noon. I'll go cook a bowl of noodles for you, okay?" Yang Cheng then realized that it was getting late. He asked curiously, "It's so late. Why didn't you wake me up? Aren't you late for work?" "You didn't wake me up last night, so of course I wouldn't wake you up either." Lu Mingyu smiled sweetly. "I'll be absent from work today. It's all because of you anyway. If the CEO blames me, you have to help me plead." When Yang Cheng heard the two words CEO, he shivered all over and woke up from his drowsiness. He was 100 times more energetic. Lu Mingyu saw that Yang Cheng didn't look good for some reason and said blankly, "What's wrong with you? If you think it's difficult to mention me in front of General Lin, just say it. I was just joking." Yang Cheng said awkwardly, "It's not like that, but I'm already awake. Let's get up, hee." The torture that Lin Ruoshi gave him these few days had actually made him a little afraid of her. Yang Cheng couldn't help but comfort himself. A good man is a good man who's afraid of his wife. "Yang Cheng, you're the model of a good man in the new era." The two of them got up and washed up in Lu Mingyu's big bathroom. Lu Mingyu was considerate enough to buy toiletries and put them in the bathroom. This made Yang Cheng's heart warm. She knew that he couldn't come often, but she made sufficient preparations to make him feel comfortable. Since she didn't have to work, Lu Mingyu didn't wake up in the morning to put on makeup like she usually did. She looked more elegant without makeup, but less charming. Wearing a floral dress and an apron, Lu Mingyu walked briskly in the kitchen, cooking noodles. Although she couldn't tell if the noodles were breakfast or lunch, she still had to eat them. Yang Chen didn't want to get involved. Lazily leaning on the sofa, he watched the news that was being replayed. Compared to watching the news before, Yang Cheng paid more attention to the entertainment news now. This was because Hui Lin had become popular in Huaxia through the star of Yulei's talent show. Moreover, Kristen and Yuyoni's promotion had made Hui Lin look like a little diva. Therefore, Hui Lin would often appear in the entertainment news. As expected, when he was watching the entertainment news, the latest news about this super newcomer, Hui Lin, was broadcasted on the television. The content was about Hui Lin's first solo album. The famous lyricists and composers that she had invited all gave high praise to Hui Lin. There was even a guy who directly said, "I think that Miss Hui Lin has the ability to replace the most popular female singer in Asia in the near future." His words were explosive. The most popular female singer in Asia was undoubtedly Yu Yonhee, who had shown brilliantly at the Grammy Awards in America. That producer actually said that Hui Lin had the ability to do so. For a newcomer, that was a terrifying thing. At the end of the news mentioned some information about the star of Yulei and played a few clips of Hui Lin's beautiful songs during the talent show. Yang Cheng knew that this was the marketing strategy of his company. What Yulei had now was money. Compared to those established entertainment companies and record companies, Yulei didn't have much experience. However, as long as they had money, everything would be easy. Moreover, Lin Ruoshi was willing to spend money for her younger sister. She wasn't stingy with the advertising fees. Otherwise, there wouldn't be such a long news segment that only talked about Hui Lin. As he watched, an alluring aroma of noodles suddenly wafted out from the kitchen. It was mixed with a rather unique fragrance, causing Yang Cheng's saliva glands to secrete faster. "Darling Mingyu, what noodles are you making? Why does it smell so good?" Yang Cheng poked his head out to see what Lu Mingyu was doing in the kitchen. Lu Mingyu turned around and smiled. "Don't worry, it'll be ready soon." A few minutes later, Lu Mingyu brought out the noodles that she had cooked. It was filled to the brim, which was suitable for Yang Cheng's appetite. Yang Cheng took a closer look and realized that it was pickled cabbage noodles that he hadn't eaten for a long time. There were some pork shreds and some bright red dried chilies in it. It was indeed delicious. This pickled cabbage was made by Mom. It's much tastier than the ones you could buy outside. I wanted to let you try for a long time, but I didn't get the chance until now. Lu Mingyu looked at Yang Cheng proudly. When Yang Cheng heard that, he smiled. "I don't need to taste the pickled cabbage made by my mother-in-law. Hee, come, let's eat together. I'll feed you." Lu Mingyu shook her head. "I won't eat the noodles. There are fruits in the fridge. I've been on a diet recently, so I'm trying not to eat starch." "Diet?" Yang Cheng was displeased. "You don't need to go on a diet with your figure. Come here obediently. You're not allowed to eat fruits. I can listen to you for other things, but I know my figure best." Of course you won't say that I'm fat now. If I really lose my figure one day, it'll be too late for regrets." Lu Mingyu turned around and went to the fridge to take out a plate of sliced fruits. There was nothing Yang Cheng could do. He could only say resentfully, "Just don't lose any weight in your chest or butt." Lu Mingyu, who was about to open the fridge, blushed. She gritted her teeth and glared at Yang Cheng. "Eat your noodles. Stop talking so much." Yang Cheng shrunk his head. Women were really sensitive when it came to their figures. Lu Mingyu's culinary skills were really good. The pickled cabbage that Mother Lu made was also delicious. Yang Cheng finished the big bowl of noodle soup, including the soup. Lu Mingyu simply ate some fruits. Seeing that Yang Cheng finished it so cleanly, she was naturally happy. She didn't care that there was oil on Yang Cheng's lips and took the initiative to kiss him. Yang Cheng enjoyed this kind of erotic treatment. He couldn't help but sigh. Little Yu was still so considerate. When he was at home, when didn't he finish all the food? Little sister Lin didn't even take the initiative to kiss him. After washing the bowls and chopsticks, Lu Mingyu took off her apron and asked expectantly, "If we don't go to work, what will we do in the afternoon?" Yang Cheng was about to ask Lu Mingyu what she wanted to do, but unexpectedly, Lu Mingyu's phone on the table rang. Chapter 612. Lu Mingyu frowned slightly, worried that the company had something urgent to discuss with her, but she still walked over and picked up her phone. Looking at the number, Lu Mingyu seemed to be relieved. She picked up the call and smiled. "Hi, Li. Why are you calling me at this time?" From Lu Mingyu's tone, it should be someone she knew. After chatting with the woman named Hailey for a while, Lu Mingyu looked a little hesitant, but in the end, she responded softly, as if she had agreed to something. After hanging up, Lu Mingyu didn't wait for Yang Cheng to ask and said, "Hailey is my university classmate and also a good friend of mine. She invited me to a simple gathering. Our university's class monitor came back from Su province to run some errands. Since he won't be staying for long, he wanted to use this afternoon to gather everyone together." Yang Cheng was quite surprised. He had never studied, so he was unfamiliar with classmates. So when he heard that Lu Mingyu was going to a class reunion, he felt a little envious. "Go then. I'm free these few days anyway. After your gathering, I'll go out with you to play." Yang Cheng didn't want to miss a rare gathering. Lu Mingyu pursed her lips and said, "Yang Cheng, come with me." Yang Cheng was stunned. Is this appropriate? What's inappropriate about it? It's not a big deal to bring your boyfriend to a class reunion. Besides, it's not like you can't bring him, Lu Mingyu said faintly. "Many of my classmates are married. In the past, when I went to parties, I was often the only one there. It's weird to go." Yang Cheng suddenly realized that Lu Mingyu wanted him to support her. But this was nothing. He was indeed her man. Moreover, he wanted to understand the women around him better, so of course he had to look at their social circles. "Then should I wear a suit and tie?" Yang Cheng asked a little awkwardly. "Why a suit and tie?" Lu Mingyu was puzzled. "I've never participated in a class reunion, so I don't know what to do. I'm afraid that I'll embarrass you." Yang Cheng smiled embarrassedly. Lu Mingyu giggled and rolled her eyes at him. "You're so thick-skinned that no one can tell if you're embarrassed. I think you should just do it this way. Everyone is just having a casual gathering. not going to the National People's Congress. I'll go in and change my clothes and put on some makeup. I'll be out soon. You wait here." Although it was fast, when the two of them set off, 40 minutes had already passed. Lu Mingyu changed into a light blue Chanel double-layered chiffon dress, revealing a pair of slender and fair calves. She wore a small suit with embroidery, which made her neck look especially slender, like a Japanese or Korean celebrity. Because the sun was blinding outside, she also wore a pair of fashionable Gucci sunglasses with colorful lines. This kind of attire was rarely seen at work. This outfit cost at least 20,000 Huaxia dollars. Even as an executive of Yulei, if Lu Mingyu were to dress like this in the company, it would definitely attract too much attention. Yang Cheng looked at his own clothes. Although they were all branded goods that Lin Ruoshi had bought for him, they still looked a little shabby. However, he was not a fussy person. Since Lu Mingyu said it was fine, he just let it be. Because Lu Mingyu's car was still at the company, she naturally took Yang Cheng's car to the meeting. The venue was a high-end clubhouse in the East District of Zhonghai. If one's annual salary was less than 200,000, there was no way they could get in. It was obvious that the classmates who invited Lu Mingyu were doing well. When Yang Cheng's car arrived, a few men and women were just about to enter the clubhouse. After getting out of the car, Lu Mingyu took off her sunglasses and waved at a tall girl with curly hair who was about to enter. Highly, the curly-haired girl turned around, revealing a round face. When she saw Lu Mingyu, she happily ran over and hugged Lu Mingyu intimately. "Mingyu, it's rare for you to come on a work day. I thought you wouldn't come," Hailey said happily. Her gaze naturally drifted to Yang Chen, who was behind Lu Mingyu, who had just finished locking the car. Puzzled, she asked, "This mister, is he your boyfriend?" Lu Mingyu's face blushed, and she shyly replied, "Yes." Yang Chen was not at all distant. He took the initiative and said, "Hello, Miss Hai. My name is Yang Chen. Mingyu said she could come, so I came uninvited." Hailey covered her mouth and laughed. "Who's Miss Hai?" "My surname is Zhao Hailey." "Who has the surname Hai?" Yang Chen was stunned. It seemed to be true. He didn't know how to react. Seeing Yang Cheng's blank expression, Hailey laughed again. She took Lu Mingyu's hand and said, "Your boyfriend is so funny. Everyone will admire your taste when they see him later." Yang Chen curled his lips. Was this woman praising him or belittling him? Lu Mingyu smiled indifferently. "Anyway, he's my boyfriend. They can say whatever they want." Hailey suddenly sighed. "I heard about what happened to Chi Kai. I didn't expect the Chi family to be so miserable. Fortunately, you got over it so quickly. Seeing that you have a boyfriend, I'm relieved as your sister." Both Yang Cheng and Lu Mingyu knew that Chi Kai's family was slaughtered by Lu Qingshan's Green Dragon Gang. Although this matter was deliberately suppressed, it was impossible for people in society not to know. When Lu Mingyu heard the name Chi Kai, her expression didn't change at all. "It's all in the past. There's nothing to talk about." "That's true." Zhao Hailey was also afraid to make Lu Mingyu uncomfortable. Then she said with a smile, "Let's go. The old class monitor and the others are all inside. Mr. Yang Cheng, who is attending our party for the first time, welcome. Let's go together." Zhao Hailey was a passionate person, so Yang Cheng didn't mind her teasing him. He followed the two women into the clubhouse with a smile on his face. Although Lu Mingyu brought Yang Cheng to show her identity, she wouldn't be pretentious and stick to Yang Cheng. That wasn't her style. Therefore, along the way, she held hands and talked with Zhao Hailey, who she hadn't seen for a long time. The interior of the club was very spacious, and all kinds of entertainment facilities were available. Under Zhao Hailey's lead, the three of them walked into a large private room. In the private room, pop music echoed, and 7 or 8 people were drinking and chatting. "Aren't you guys a little too much? You started drinking before we came." As soon as Zhao Hailey entered the door, she laughed and scolded. When those people saw Zhao Hailey and Lu Mingyu, they all stood up, but the expressions on their faces were different. A handsome man in a casual suit and a red shirt looked straight at Lu Mingyu and showed an excited smile. "Mingyu, you're here too." Lu Mingyu nodded gently and took a step back. Her wrist naturally held Yang Cheng's arm, and she got closer to Yang Cheng. Then she nodded to everyone gently. Everyone, long time no see. Although Lu Mingyu had a background in public relations, and she often argued for what was right in the business world, she was obviously very quiet and private. It could be seen from the way she treated her classmates. However, many people's nature and work were the opposite of each other, so it was nothing new. Our campus belle is getting more and more beautiful. Hey, is this gentleman your new boyfriend, Mingyu? A tall and thin man with a mustache said. Lu Mingyu nodded. His name is Yang Cheng, my colleague in the company, and also my boyfriend. This time, Yang Cheng did not take the initiative to speak. He let Lu Mingyu introduce him as a form of respect, and then he nodded to the men and women. However, when he heard them say that Lu Mingyu was the campus belle, Yang Cheng was happy. It turned out that he had a campus belle girlfriend by accident. Then he thought about it and felt that it was nothing to be proud of. All the women around him seemed to be at the level of the campus belle. Although everyone was a little surprised, they still responded politely and invited Yang Cheng to sit down on the big sofa. Zhao Haili could be said to be the engine of conversation among this group of people. She introduced everyone's name to Yang Cheng as soon as she sat down, so that Yang Cheng could get to know them one by one. The man who first spoke to Lu Mingyu was the class monitor, Zhu Kongyu, who rarely came back from Su province. When he heard Lu Mingyu introduce Yang Cheng as her boyfriend, his expression began to become unnatural. After everyone sat down, he asked, "Mr. Yang, this is the first time we meet. Have you known Mingyu for a long time? Why haven't we heard of you?" As soon as he said this, a few of Lu Mingyu's classmates also looked at Yang Cheng curiously. Lu Mingyu was the famous campus belle in university. Naturally, there were a lot of people chasing after her. They all knew that there was something going on between Lu Mingyu and Chi Kai. However, Chi Kai had already passed away. Thus, the belonging of Lu Mingyu had once again become the topic of these people's attention. And the class monitor, Zhu Kongyu, could be said to be the one who mingled the best in this group. Otherwise, there would not be so many people. As soon as Zhu Kongyu returned to Zhonghai, he immediately made time to meet up, even on working days. Zhu Kongyu liked Lu Mingyu. That was when they were still students. Now that Chi Kai was not around, naturally, he had a greater chance. Yang Cheng was not stupid. This Zhu Kongyu was obviously hostile towards him. He was probably one of the pursuers who had been eyeing Lu Mingyu covetously. So he smiled and said, "It's been almost a year. It's just that we've all been quite busy, so we haven't had many opportunities to go out together." Zhu Kongyu nodded and suddenly said, "I'm the deputy director of the organization department of the Provincial Party Committee in Su Province. May I know what position Mr. Yang holds in Yulei? I think Mr. Yang must have something extraordinary to be able to gain the favor of our campus belle." As soon as these words came out, it was obvious that he wanted to show off his abilities. Without waiting for Yang Cheng to say anything, a fat man with a beer belly exclaimed, "Oh my God! Old class monitor, you're too amazing. It's only been a year, and you've been promoted again." A few days ago, my dad came back and told me that my old class monitor had entered the organization department of the Provincial Party Committee. He even entered the standing committee of the Provincial Party Committee in Su Province. I didn't believe it at first, but I didn't expect it to be true. Another classmate said with a sigh. Zhu Kongyu waved his hand calmly and said, "I'm just lucky to fill the vacancy. There's nothing to be surprised about." Class monitor, don't be so humble. Even someone like me, who doesn't know much about politics, knows that you'll be able to enter the Provincial Party Committee at your age. In my opinion, there aren't many people in the entire country who are working in the Provincial Party Committee at your age, Zhao highly exclaimed in admiration. Zhu Kongyu's face glowed with the flattery from the crowd. It was obvious that he was enjoying it very much. The people sitting here all came from wealthy families. They used to be classmates who started off at the same starting line, but now they were all trying to flatter him. Wasn't this the best proof that he was going to stand out? However, when Zhu Kongyu's gaze shifted to Lu Mingyu's face, which he was paying the most attention to, he was dismayed to discover that Lu Mingyu was merely smiling indifferently. She did not have the slightest intention of flattering him. In fact, she did not even look surprised. Actually, Lu Mingyu couldn't be blamed for this. If it was the previous Lu Mingyu, she might have been more or less shocked that Zhu Kongyu had entered the provincial party committee at such a young age. But now, her man, Yang Cheng, had the identity and background of the Yang family, one of the four major families. He also had extraordinary abilities and strength. Even her father, Lu Qingshan, was the leader of the underworld in Beijing. Even the ministers in Beijing had to give Lu Qingshan face. As Lu Qingshan's daughter, she didn't value these officials as much as she used to. Zhu Kongyu didn't know about Lu Mingyu's twists and turns. He just thought that it was because Lu Mingyu was charmed by Yang Cheng and became stupid. She didn't know how bright her future was. So, he chased after them and said, "Everyone, don't be so polite. I'm still your class monitor, it's no big deal. As for Mr. Yang, your guest today, I'm really curious that Mingyu chose you as her boyfriend. Don't you want to know more? Mr. Yang, I haven't asked about your position yet." In fact, no matter how Yang Cheng answered this question, it was a kind of humiliation, because Yang Cheng couldn't be the CEO of Yulei International. At most, he was a senior executive, and a senior executive of a multinational company was not too rare. Compared to Zhu Kongyu, who was a department-level official at such a young age, he was really far behind. Everyone actually knew that Zhu Kongyu was deliberately embarrassing Yang Cheng. He wanted to let Lu Mingyu see the gap between them in front of her. Even if he couldn't make Lu Mingyu change her mind, he couldn't let this outsider Yang Cheng have an easy time. Chapter 613. Seeing that Yang Cheng was being questioned like this, Lu Mingyu frowned slightly, but Zhu Kongyu's words did not seem to be rude on the surface, so it was not appropriate for her to interrupt. At this time, Yang Cheng smiled and said, "Do you still need to ask? My job is, of course, to be the boyfriend of my baby Mingyu." As he said that, Yang Cheng even reached out and intimately stroked Lu Mingyu's delicate and smooth face, causing Lu Mingyu's cheeks to burn red, and she glared at him coquettishly. This man was too good at doing things. Such shameful words, such shameful actions. He could even say and do it in public. But she could not refute Yang Cheng's face at this time, even though she was so shy that she only wanted to rush out of the door. Sure enough, not only did it make Lu Mingyu embarrassed and angry, but it also made the other classmates at the table shocked. Well, they were originally going to ask him about his job, who knew that this guy would actually shamelessly start to show off his affection. Not only did this change the topic, but it also severely humiliated Zhu Kongyu. "See, this is my woman. What can you do about it?" Yang Cheng's shamelessness and slyness far exceeded their previous impression, especially Zhao Haili, who opened her mouth wide. She subconsciously thought that the man who foolishly called her Miss Hai just now, was it really the same person? Zhu Kongyu smiled stiffly with an ugly expression. "Mr. Yang really knows how to make girls happy. No wonder Mingyu chose you as her boyfriend. You can't say it like that. The key is that I am a person who is willing to give my heart," Yang Cheng said honestly with a simple and honest face, as if he was going to dig out his heart and lungs. All the faces of Lu Mingyu's classmates were particularly strange, and there were even two who felt nauseous. This man's words were too mushy. Lu Mingyu simply lowered her head and didn't say anything. Her burning ears proved that she was embarrassed at the moment. Zhu Kongyu finally understood that this guy in front of him was completely shameless. No matter what method you used to ridicule him, he would still respond. Why? Because he was shameless. It looks like Mr. Yang is really devoted to our school bell. Hee, class leader, let's not let Mr. Yang show his loyalty. Let's get together and have a few drinks. That's right. Everyone who's watching my marriage go to the grave is so envious of us. Let's drink some wine. A few of Zhu Kongyu's classmates started to interrupt Yang Cheng's words. They also wanted to give Zhu Kongyu a way out of this embarrassing situation. After all, if this went on, Zhu Kongyu would die of anger. This squad leader Zhu had the brightest future among his classmates. Most of the people present wanted to rely on Zhu Kongyu to do something for them in the future. How could they not be attentive to him? Zhu Kongyu was also someone who had mingled in the political circles. Although he was young, he could still tolerate it. His expression turned calm. and he smiled as he raised his wine glass and clinked it with a few of his classmates. He said, "I've already said that I'll only be back in Zhonghai for less than 2 days. Yet, all of you just had to gather together to welcome me. I really don't know how to repay you. It's our good fortune to be able to drink with you, Mr. Minister. How can we ask for anything in return?" A classmate said with a flattering smile. The others also flattered him and said a bunch of good things. Most of them were also praising Zhu Kongyu for his successful career and his extraordinary means. He was a role model for them. Zhao Haili, on the other hand, was closer to Lu Mingyu. She felt that Lu Mingyu did not really like Zhu Kongyu, so she did not say anything. She took the time to take 3 glasses and poured some whiskey for Lu Mingyu and Yang Cheng. Yang Cheng smiled and said thank you to Zhao Haili. He felt that this Miss Hai was a good person. She was not in a hurry to flatter Zhu Kongyu. Instead, she remembered to pour drinks for her friends and herself, an outsider. However, looking at these so-called classmates, Yang Cheng could not help but sigh in his heart. Perhaps these people could be considered as close friends in the past, but now their hypocritical manner was basically no different from socializing in society. This Zhu Kongyu was clearly just a deputy minister, but he was directly ignored and called minister, which made him so happy. Lu Mingyu did not really open her mouth to speak. She only chatted briefly with Zhao Haili. Whatever the others asked her, she only answered briefly. Actually, she did not really want to stay, but these people were all classmates after all. Although everyone had changed a lot, she still cared about their friendship and did not want to make everyone unhappy. However, from time to time, Lu Mingyu would glance worriedly at Yang Cheng, who was beside her. She was afraid that if Yang Cheng got angry at Zhu Kongyu, he would implicate her. Yang Cheng minded his own business eating snacks and drinking wine. In his eyes, these people were no different from clowns. He would just take it as accompanying his woman to watch a show. Seeing Lu Mingyu looking at him worriedly, Yang Cheng secretly winked at her. Only then did Lu Mingyu feel relieved. After Zhu Kongyu chatted with these old classmates for a while, his gaze suddenly shifted to Yang Cheng, who was drinking leisurely by himself. He smiled strangely and said, "Mr. Yang has been drinking alone like this. It seems like we have neglected Mingyu's boyfriend. How about this? I suggest that we all give Mr. Yang a toast. Just take it as a blessing for Mr. Yang and Mingyu to be happy." There were 8 people present, including Zhu Kongyu. What he meant was that he wanted Yang Cheng to drink the toast of 8 people consecutively. A few of the sharp-witted guys immediately realized that the old squad leader wanted to get this unlucky guy named Yang Cheng drunk, who asked him to hook up with a woman that no one else could touch. But these people were all on Zhu Kongyu's side. Of course, they would not persuade him otherwise. Moreover, on the surface, this suggestion was for Yang Cheng and Lu Mingyu's happiness. Of course, everyone was willing to give Zhu Kongyu face. They only needed to drink 1 cup. The one who drank at least 8 cups was Yang Cheng. What was there to be afraid of? Good suggestion. Come, I'll drink first as a sign of respect. Mr. Yang, fill up too. Cheers. A man near Yang Cheng shouted first. He took the bottle and filled up Yang Cheng's cup. Then he filled up his own cup. Then he stood up, raised his head, and poured the amber liquid down his throat. It was 40% whiskey. At this rate, a person with an average alcohol tolerance would feel dizzy after 2 cups. These people often drank together, so of course, their alcohol tolerance was not bad. They could withstand such a torment. If Yang Cheng did not drink, it would mean that he was not giving face to everyone. It would also mean that he was admitting defeat. He would be embarrassing his girlfriend, Lu Mingyu. Lu Mingyu was especially dissatisfied with Zhu Kongyu, who she had never been fond of. However, she couldn't say it out loud in front of so many students. She was anxious. She didn't want Yang Cheng to really drink 8 cups in a row. Yang Cheng secretly pinched one of Lu Mingyu's delicate hands with one hand, indicating that he was fine with it. Then, he picked up his glass and gave a toast to the man. He said, "Since you're so enthusiastic, it would be impolite of me to refuse." With that, Yang Cheng tilted his head back and downed the entire cup. A hint of coldness flashed across Zhu Kongyu's eyes as he watched from the side. His lips curled into an evil smile, as if he was waiting for Yang Chan to make a fool of himself. He didn't believe that Yang Chan could drink 8 glasses of 40-degree alcohol in a row. That was equivalent to 2 caddies of Mao Tai. With such a start, the others also followed suit and wanted to give a toast. If they did not, it would mean that they were not giving face to Zhu Kongyu. Although some of them felt that they had let down Lu Mingyu and Yang Cheng, their own interests were still more important. Yang Cheng did not refuse any of them. He toasted each and every one of Lu Mingyu's old classmates. 1 glass after another. He drank the whiskey as if it was plain water. For him, alcohol was not really a threat. He could just use the endless resolve restoration scripture to evaporate it, and it would be over. It would not affect him at all. However, Lu Mingyu saw it and felt distressed. She could not care about friendship anymore. Her man was more important. So when she saw that Yang Cheng was about to drink the 5th glass of whiskey, Lu Mingyu hurriedly stopped him. Stop drinking. The man who was about to give a toast smiled awkwardly. Mingyu, how can you not give face? You let them have a toast, but when it's my turn, why don't you let me? Mr. Yang drank so much and is still fine. He has a great capacity. Lu Mingyu frowned and ignored the classmate. She said to Yang Cheng in a gentle voice, don't drink anymore, okay? It will hurt your body. Yang Cheng was not interested in playing with these people for too long. Lu Mingyu was so worried about him, so he nodded obediently and put down the glass. Mr. Yang, this won't do. I was the one who initiated the toast. I haven't even given a toast to Mr. Yang, and Mr. Yang is not drinking. You are not giving me face at all. Zhu Kongyu squinted his eyes and smiled. He personally filled Yang Cheng's glass with whiskey and raised his glass to toast Yang Cheng. I'll drink first as a toast. After that, Zhu Kongyu drank all the whiskey and tipped the glass, leaving not a drop behind. I've already drunk. Mr. Yang, you won't be so petty to not drink this last glass, right? Zhu Kongyu's face was sincere, but he was sneering in his heart. He only thought that the real reason why Yang Cheng did not drink was because he could not hold it anymore. The others jeered. Yeah, as the boyfriend of our school belle, he must have this bit of alcohol tolerance. He has to give face to the class monitor. I was the one who asked Yang Cheng not to drink. Don't force him. Lu Mingyu was anxious and said for Yang Cheng. A girl giggled and said, could it be that Yang Cheng is afraid of his girlfriend? That makes sense. Hey, brother Yang, if you're a man, drink this wine. Otherwise, you'll lose all your face. Another person mocked. Yang Cheng scratched the back of his head and laughed innocently. My baby Mingyu's already asked me not to drink. I definitely won't drink. Are you kidding me? Are you even a man? You're losing face. A few guys shouted with flushed faces. They had already drunk so much. If Yang Cheng did not get drunk in the end, wouldn't all their previous efforts be in vain? Yang Cheng licked his lips and said in a loud voice, I don't even have my chastity anymore. What do I need face for? As soon as he said that, everyone present was speechless. They had seen shameless people, but they had never seen someone as shameless as this. Chastity? Was this something a man should say? Lu Mingyu wanted to laugh out loud. This guy was too infuriating. He was still talking nonsense in such an occasion. However, it was very satisfying. She rolled her eyes at Yang Cheng and smiled without saying a word. Zhao Haili was laughing so hard that she was rocking back and forth. She was extremely surprised that her sister had found such a boyfriend. Zhu Kongyu and the others' expressions were very unnatural. Yang Cheng was already so shameless. What else could they say? They were not afraid of unreasonable people, but they were afraid of stupid people. Since Mr. Yang is so obedient to Mingyu, then we have nothing else to say. I have something to do, so I'll go out for a while. Everyone, drink first. Zhu Kongyu stood up with a gloomy face. Ignoring the strange looks from the others, he walked out of the private room. Chapter 614. Seeing that Zhu Kongyu had left, the group of people in the private room were no longer in the mood to continue forcing Yang Cheng to drink. At the end of the day, they just wanted to suck up to Zhu Kongyu. In their hearts, they still felt that they had let down Lu Mingyu and Yang Cheng, whom they had never met before. But since things had already escalated to this point, these people were too embarrassed to talk to Yang Cheng. They pretended that nothing had happened and continued to talk among themselves. Yang Cheng asked Lu Mingyu in a low voice, "You asked me to accompany you because you already knew that you wanted me to help you block that Jew guy, right?" Lu Mingyu bit her lips and nodded in agreement. "You're using me," Yang Cheng said with a frown. "Are you angry?" Lu Mingyu raised her head worriedly and said apologetically, "That Zhu Kongyu has been chasing after me since I was in university, but I never agreed to him. Things got better after he went to work in Su province. But every time he returned to Zhonghai, he would call me along. I just wanted him to give up on me. I didn't expect him to do what he did just now. In the past, I thought that although he was ordinary, he wasn't that sinister." Yang Cheng chuckled. "I'm not angry, but I still feel wronged. Being used by my beloved as a gun, I'm about to get alcohol poisoning." Lu Mingyu finally heard the strange tone in Yang Cheng's voice. How is this guy getting alcohol poisoning? She wasn't drunk at all. She rolled her eyes at him and said, "I'm sorry this time. Next time, I'll find a chance to cook a good meal for you. I'll make it up to you." "I don't want to eat your cooking." Yang Cheng shook his head. "Then what do you want?" Lu Mingyu asked. "I want you. I'll just eat you," Yang Cheng whispered into the woman's ear. Lu Mingyu blushed and didn't reply. She lowered her head, afraid that these people would find out how shy she was. Yang Cheng did not continue to tease this woman. He took a sip of wine and slowly said, "Actually, I hope that you can make use of me more so that I can do more things for you." "Huh?" Lu Mingyu raised her head and looked at Yang Cheng in confusion. "I can't give you a complete relationship, and I can only let you stand in the dark. I want to make up for this as much as I can." Yang Cheng lowered his voice and said, "So I feel better if I can do something for you and give you something. I even think that if there's another man that I like, then although I'll be very regretful, I won't be too sad. As long as you can be happy, then as a greedy person, there's nothing wrong with quitting." Lu Mingyu's watery eyes lit up. Her hand unconsciously held onto Yang Cheng's rough palm in the darkness. "I also want to try my best not to like a bad person like you, so that I won't feel so depressed when I'm not feeling good. But I can't do it. I can't do it now, and I can't do it in the future. You've already taken away my right to like others, so you should use your entire life to make it up to me, right?" Yang Cheng smiled shyly and nodded. "I say, you two are kissing me. What am I saying? You're not taking me seriously at all." Zhao Hailey, who was at the side, finally realized that the two of them had been muttering about something and glared at them in dissatisfaction. Lu Mingyu smiled apologetically at Zhao Hailey and said, "All right, I've neglected you. I'll toast you a cup as an apology." The two women drank a cup. Lu Mingyu came from a public relations background, so her alcohol tolerance was naturally not bad. "Why isn't Department Head Zhu back yet?" someone suddenly asked curiously. The others were also puzzled. Looking at the time, it was almost 10 minutes. Sigh. Yang Cheng sighed. Maybe he has something that he can't talk about. Everyone looked at him, and Zhao Hailey asked curiously, "What is it?" Yang Cheng chuckled and said, "He's a man, after all. He's always sitting in the office all year round. It's inevitable that something like his prostate or his kidneys will go wrong. Old Class Monitor is such a conscientious person who has contributed to the country. It's inevitable that he'll have some minor problems. Everyone, don't talk about it like this." As soon as he said that, everyone couldn't help but laugh. This guy was too evil. Just now, he backstabbed Zhu Kongyu, and now he said behind his back that there was something wrong with his prostate. If Zhu Kongyu heard this, he might just go crazy. At this moment, the door opened, and Zhu Kongyu walked back with a normal expression. He seemed to be in a good mood, and his footsteps were much lighter. "What's wrong?" Everyone is laughing happily. "Is there a joke?" Zhu Kongyu saw that everyone was smiling, so he joined in and asked. Unexpectedly, these old classmates all stared at Zhu Kongyu for a while and even faintly focused on his lower body. Zhu Kongyu's head was full of question marks, but he didn't get an answer. He could only suppress the doubts in his heart, sat down, and continued to say, "Sorry to keep everyone waiting. The National People's Congress is going to be held soon, and there are really a lot of things to do. Come, let's continue drinking." Unexpectedly, just as Zhu Kongyu raised his cup, Lu Mingyu said, "Class monitor, Yang Chung, and I have something to do in the office in the afternoon, so we can only sit here for now. If there's a chance, let's get together again next time." What she meant was that she was leaving now, and she wouldn't be able to keep them company. Lu Mingyu was worried that Zhu Kongyu would do something against Yang Chung again. She couldn't bear for Yang Chung to really shield her from the wind and rain and mistreat himself. Originally, everyone thought that Zhu Kongyu would ask them to stay, but unexpectedly, Zhu Kongyu just smiled and said, "Mingyu is leaving now. Sai, since it's business, we can't delay it. Let us see you both off." Everyone also responded and stood up to see Yang Chung and Lu Mingyu off. Yang Chung didn't care. If Lu Mingyu said to leave, he would leave, but he had a vague feeling that things were not so simple. The group of people saw Yang Chung and Lu Mingyu out of the private room and walked all the way out of the clubhouse. They enthusiastically hoped that they could get together again next time, and they even praised Yang Cheng's good alcohol tolerance, as if they were very familiar with each other. Yang Chung cursed in his heart, who said that he was the only thick-skinned one. This group of people were all thick-skinned, and they changed their expressions faster than flipping a book. Just as they were about to walk out of the clubhouse, a short and fat man in a gray suit with a flat-top haircut walked towards them. The man seemed to be thinking about something with his head down, and he didn't notice that a group of people had walked out of the door. He just walked towards them quickly. Yang Chung subconsciously thought of something, and his body slightly leaned to the side, wanting to avoid this fat man. Unexpectedly, the fat man's accidental collision did not succeed, but he still very professionally tilted his body and fell to the ground. Yang Chung was amused. "Well, I didn't do anything, and this guy's acting skills were too profound." Ouch! As soon as the fat man fell to the ground, he cried out in pain, as if his elbow had hit a doorpost. His tears were about to fall, and he hugged his arm and shouted, "Help! It hurts so much. Are you trying to kill me?" Before everyone could react, 7 or 8 men in different clothes suddenly rushed out from a corner outside the clubhouse. Among them, a square-faced man with curly hair and a silver necklace around his neck suddenly shouted anxiously, "Old fatty, what's wrong with you? What happened to your hand?" The short fatty called Old Fatty had a bitter expression on his face as he cried bitterly, "Big brother, I was just about to enter the door, and this guy bumped into me. My hand seems to be broken." "What?" The square-faced man glared angrily at Yang Chung. "You little brat, you even dare to bump into my curly hair wolf's underlings? If you don't give me an explanation today, don't even think of walking out of this door in peace." A group of underlings immediately helped the pretentious fat man up and followed the curly hair wolf's lead, yelling and shouting, demanding an explanation from Yang Chung. Everyone present was actually clear that this was a scam today. These people were obviously waiting for a rabbit to fall into their trap. But in such a high-class clubhouse, how could there not even be a security guard? How could such a group of people be allowed to commit crimes here? There was something fishy about this matter, and it seemed like they were targeting Yang Chung. A few quick-witted people subconsciously sneaked glances at Zhu Kongyu, who had just gone out for some unknown reason. But Zhu Kongyu's face was full of worry, and there was not the slightest hint of anything out of the ordinary. "You guys are extorting us in broad daylight. If you don't go away, we will call the police and let the police come." Lu Mingyu had roughly guessed that it was Zhu Kongyu who was up to no good, but she could not say anything without evidence. Seeing that Yang Chung did not say anything, she could only anxiously call the police to resist these hooligans. "Call the police? TSK, this little girl looks quite attractive. Why are you so ignorant?" Curly Hair Wolf stared at Lu Mingyu lecherously and said, "So what if the police come? Aren't we still in the right? This is all because your man bumped into us first. At most, we will go to the hospital for an examination. He's not injured at all." Zhao Hailey, who was at the side, could not bear to watch any longer and spoke up for Lu Mingyu. Curly Hair Wolf chuckled evilly and said, "Whether he's injured or not, we will only know when we reach the hospital." Yang Chung secretly shook his head. Actually, this matter was not about whether this old fatty was injured or not. Even if he really wasn't injured, if he went to the hospital with the professionalism of this group of people, they could also find time to cause real injuries before going to the hospital. Therefore, the key issue was still to find out the cause of the matter. If it had been in the past, Yang Cheng felt that the easiest way to settle things would have been to take down this group of people in front of him. But that was exactly what this group of people wanted. Regardless of whether he injured them or killed them, he would be tainted with bad luck. Trouble would only come one after another, and it would also add to Lu Mingyu's troubles. The gains did not make up for the losses. After thinking carefully, Yang Cheng had an idea. He said to Lu Mingyu, who was beside him, "Call the police. We will wait for the police to come before we talk." Chapter 6:15. Lu Mingyu had already whipped out her phone. She immediately dialed the police station's number after receiving Yang Cheng's approval. Curly Hair Wolf and his gang were not afraid at all when they saw Lu Mingyu calling the police. They looked at Yang Cheng and his gang with a smirk, as if they were watching a joke. Lu Mingyu dialed the East District Police Station's number and immediately explained the situation. After giving them the detailed address, she looked at Yang Cheng guiltily. Although she didn't think that anything would happen to Yang Cheng based on his abilities and status, someone as rational as her wouldn't have guessed that it was very likely that Zhu Kongyu had recruited them. She didn't expect that her old class monitor, who had failed to woo her, would play such a sinister trick. Lu Mingyu was secretly glad that she hadn't given him any chance back then. Zhao Haili and her group of old classmates didn't leave immediately. Half of it was because they were afraid of Curly Hair Wolf and his gang. As the saying goes, those who have nothing to lose are not afraid of wearing shoes. Regardless of whether these people were rich or powerful, they had to give way. Moreover, a group of people stood behind and watched the situation unfold. It was also better to choose the right side when the time came. Yang Cheng, will there be a fight later? Lu Mingyu asked worriedly in a low voice. Yang Cheng was hesitating whether to take out a cigarette. It was boring to wait for the police to come. When he heard this question, he laughed and said, "Want to see your man show off? I'm serious. Let's not make things too big. Although I know you're very capable, I'm still worried," Lu Mingyu said with a frown. Yang Cheng smiled nonchalantly. He didn't want to explain to her that he actually just wanted to settle the matter without leaving any loose ends. Safety was not in his consideration at all. It was a pity that the case happened in the East District. The police station wasn't under Choi Yun's jurisdiction. Otherwise, this matter wouldn't have been so troublesome. Curly Hair Wolf and his gang dragged the short fatty to the back and pretended to have someone look after him. The rest of them smoked and surrounded the front of the clubhouse, blocking all the exits and laughing as they waited for the police to arrive. A hint of concern flashed across Zhu Kongyu's eyes. He walked forward and said, "Mr. Yang, I don't think this matter is easy to solve. Although I don't hold a position in Zhonghai, I still have some influence. Why don't I help you call some helpers so that you can talk to the police?" When everyone saw that Zhu Kongyu was still pretending to be a good person at this time, they cursed him for being shameless in their hearts. However, on the surface, they praised him loudly and flattered him. Most of them shouted, "Old squad leader, you're really warm-hearted." Yang Cheng smiled shyly and said, "How can I do that? Since this matter is directed at me, I will tell the police myself." "But Minister Zhu, are you busy recently?" Zhu Kongyu was stunned by Yang Cheng's random question. After he recovered, he nodded and said, "I said before that I'm very busy recently." "Why? Does Mr. Yang have any questions?" "Oh, I'm fine. It's just that, Minister Zhu, it's best if you entrust your busy matters to someone else first. Otherwise, it might be delayed," Yang Cheng said with concern. Zhu Kongyu was confused. In the end, he just thought that Yang Cheng was talking nonsense. He smiled and shook his head. The only one who really wanted to stay behind to help was Zhao Haili. No one knew when she had run back into the clubhouse. At this time, she ran out again. She ran to Lu Mingyu angrily and said, "Mingyu, I just went to look for the clubhouse's security and manager. Those people were obviously there, but they pretended that nothing happened. They even said that this is our own problem. They're so despicable." Lu Mingyu sighed in her heart. Obviously, these people were all talked to by Zhu Kongyu. It was impossible for Zhu Kongyu to be able to become a department-level officer at such a young age without a certain family background. Among the people present, only he had the ability to ask such a high-end clubhouse to do something that would harm the interests of the guests. At this time, on the road outside the clubhouse's parking lot, 2 commercial police cars drove in. After stopping in front of the clubhouse, several police officers got out of the car. The one leading the team was a middle-aged police officer with a crew cut and a dignified face. It had only been about 5 minutes since the call was made, and the police had already arrived at the clubhouse. The efficiency was indeed amazing. Many people had already guessed that they had probably received the notice earlier and rushed over without calling the police. Who called the police? The middle-aged police officer glared at the people present and asked loudly. Without waiting for Lu Mingyu to speak, Curly-Hair Wolf ran to the police officer and said in a sorrowful voice, "Police officer, you have to help my brother. These people almost killed my brother." "What nonsense are you talking about? Can someone die from a scratch on his arm?" Zhao highly shrieked. "Stinking B***TCH, it's none of your business." Another gangster retorted. The middle-aged police officer frowned and said, "Shut up. It's not up to you to say what's right and wrong. Who are the victims and the culprit? Hurry up and come out. We will naturally bring them back to the police station for interrogation." "It's this kid. This kid broke my brother Old Fatty's arm, and he still refuses to admit it." Curly-Hair Wolf pointed at Yang Cheng and said angrily. The police officer's eyes flashed with a trace of sternness. He ordered a police officer beside him, "Go handcuff him and bring him back to the police station." "Wait a minute." Lu Mingyu was so angry that her face was red. "How can you arrest someone so casually? You only listen to his words and not listen to our explanation." The police officer laughed coldly and said, "Miss, if you do this, I can sue you for obstructing the execution of official duties. Whether or not you are innocent, it won't be too late to go to the police station to decide." "What? Are you afraid that there will be conclusive evidence in the police station, so you want to forcefully resist? It's clearly you who arrested people indiscriminately. How can you be a police officer?" Zhao Hailey, who was flustered, shouted in support. Just as the police officer's expression was getting uglier and uglier, Yang Cheng came out to smooth things over. He said with a smile, "Everyone, stop arguing. Isn't it just going to the police station? It's not my first time going, and I'm almost used to it. Let's go then." As he said that, Yang Cheng took the initiative to walk in front of the police officer and said, "Come, cuff me. Sigh, I've only been out of the police station for a few days. Why do I have to go back again? Looks like I'm born to be at odds with the police station." Everyone was speechless as they watched Yang Cheng talk, as if entering the police station was as easy as entering a small tea house. Lu Mingyu rushed forward anxiously and grabbed Yang Cheng's arm. She shook her head and said, "Don't go with them. We don't have to be afraid of them. I'll call my dad. You should have a way. If you go, what if they do something to you?" When the police officer heard that, he was instantly angered and said, "Miss, you better watch your words. I can sue you for defaming a public official." At this moment, Lu Mingyu did not look like her usual gentle self at all. She glared at the police officer fiercely and said arrogantly, "If you dare to arrest my man today, believe it or not, I'll make you lose your job tomorrow." She was also extremely angry. Originally, she had brought Yang Cheng with her out of some selfish motives. She wanted Yang Cheng to help her block Zhu Kongyu. She did not expect that not only would she make Yang Cheng drink so much, but she would also be framed by Zhu Kongyu. How could she not feel pained and regretful? Therefore, even if she was very reluctant to consider the fact that her father had a gangster background, Lu Mingyu could not care about anything else. The police officer was not frightened at all. He sneered and said, "I'm enforcing the law impartially. Why would I be afraid of your threats? Get out of the way. Otherwise, I'll arrest you too." Yang Cheng patted Lu Mingyu's shoulder, indicating that she was fine. He felt warm in his heart when he saw Lu Mingyu's sudden outburst of emotions. This was the first time he saw Lu Mingyu yelling at someone like a shrew. All of this was for him. Yang Cheng suddenly cleared his throat and turned to the left side of the clubhouse, where there was no one around. He yelled, How long are you guys going to watch the show? Do you really want me to go to the police station again? Or do you think that I can't catch you? Everyone looked at the place where Yang Cheng was looking, puzzled. Other than a few parked cars, there was not even a shadow of a person. They were all wondering if Yang Cheng had lost his mind. However, after a few seconds, two silhouettes, one tall and one short, quietly walked out from a corner and slowly walked towards them. It was a tall and burly man and a delicate and pretty girl. No one present knew them. They were the couple in charge of looking after Yang Cheng's whereabouts in the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade, Sky Dragon and Yizi. Chapter 616. Sky Dragon and Yezi had no choice but to be called out by Yang Cheng so blatantly. Originally, they planned to wait and see. As long as Yang Cheng was not under great pressure and there were no casualties, they would try not to take action. If Yang Cheng went to the police station, they would go directly to the police station and bring Yang Cheng out. There would be no unnecessary involvement. But now, Yang Cheng actually decided to solve the problem on the spot, and he even directly stated that he would not come out. Then he would drag him out personally. Sky Dragon and Yezi asked themselves. They could not even avoid Yang Cheng's perception, let alone escape from Yang Cheng's palm. Rather than losing face, it was better to come out obediently. Rather than monitoring Yang Cheng, to a large extent, the two of them were just helping Yang Cheng to deal with some trouble, so as not to cause more trouble. To restrict Yang Cheng? That was a fool's dream. The scene suddenly became quiet. No one knew Sky Dragon and Yezi, so they did not know why they were there. What was more curious was how Yang Cheng knew that they were hiding there. However, Lu Mingyu was not too surprised. She knew that Yang Cheng had a lot of secrets. She guessed that these two people should be secretly protecting Yang Cheng. After all, Yang Cheng had the background of the Yang family, so it was somewhat correct. Who are you? The police officer asked discontentedly. Sky Dragon did not speak, but took out a dark green leather book from his coat pocket. On the cover of the book, there was a steel seal with a cross sickle and axe pattern, solemn and profound. The small book was placed in front of the police officer. The police officer frowned and looked at it carefully. He did not recognize the badge, but when he saw the line of words below, his face instantly stiffened. Everyone found that the police officer's facial expression instantly became a little petrified. They were all curious about what Sky Dragon took out, but Yezi appropriately blocked everyone's sight, so no one saw it. However, a few police officers standing behind saw the words on the book with the police officer. Most of them were stunned and could not believe it. National Security Bureau? The police officer was almost murmuring these few words without any strength left in him. Then he shuddered. The first thought in his mind was, am I dreaming? Not to mention that he was not sure whether this badge was real or not. These words were almost like the Arabian Nights. But on second thought, could it be fake? Then the police officer rejected this idea. If this thing is fake, you will be beheaded immediately. No matter how tough you are, can you be tougher than the state apparatus? Who would fabricate a national security agency ID to help them solve their problems? It is better to say that your father is some senior official. Besides, the way these two people appeared was very similar to that of spies. They were probably hidden members of the National Security Bureau. Sky Dragon asked in a deep voice, do I need to open it for you to check? Tian Long to Dragon to say Tian Yi Dragon. Tian. It was not an exaggeration to call someone from the State Security Bureau leader when they came to the local area. This police officer reacted quickly. Sky Dragon kept the ID and casually stuffed it back into his pocket. Although Yellow Flame Iron Brigade was a special department of the state security, it was still part of the system. Hence, he still had this ID. To deal with these local people, the ID of Yellow Flame Iron Brigade would not be effective. Mr. Yang's security level is not within your jurisdiction. Today's matter, just pretend that nothing happened. Evacuate. Sky Dragon said directly. The police officer hesitated for a while. He was asked to come here by someone. He did not expect such a turn of events. Just as he was about to say something, he saw Sky Dragon's face turn cold. He immediately saluted and said, yes, leader. The police officer turned and waved his hand. Return. seeing that things were about to end just like that. The group of people felt that it was unbelievable. Where did these two come from? Why did the police act like they were the plague whenever they saw them? At the same time, the way they looked at Yang Cheng changed. Was Yang Cheng really an employee of Yulei International? How did he have the ability to get such a person to help? Zhu Kongyu's expression was uncertain. He gritted his teeth but did not dare to act rashly. He had such a status at such a young age. Of course, he knew not to fight a battle he was not confident in. The identity of this man and woman was unknown. Yang Cheng was also giving off strange vibes. He decided to investigate first before doing anything else. Curly Hair Wolf and the rest of the hooligans hid at the side in fear. Seeing that even the police were afraid of this man and woman, they did not dare to stick their heads out. However, when the police were about to leave, Yang Cheng refused to budge. "Stop right there. Who said you can leave? The criminals have not been arrested yet." When everyone heard this, they looked at Yang Cheng speechlessly. This guy was really vengeful. The group of police officers stiffened. They looked at Yang Cheng and then at Sky Dragon. They did not know who to listen to. Sky Dragon smiled bitterly and walked to Yang Cheng's side. He said in a low voice, "Forget it, Yang Cheng. You have nothing to lose anyway. It's better to avoid trouble." Yang Cheng laughed. "I gave you a lot of face, but I did not move at all. You can't let me be wrong for nothing. What's more, my woman is angry. Do you know what happens to women when they get angry? They grow wrinkles. That's a big loss." Yi, who was at the side, rolled her eyes. "Brother Yang, what kind of reason is that? Why do you have to be calculative with these people?" Yang Cheng shook his finger and narrowed his eyes. In the whole of Zhonghai, there are only two gangs, the Red Thorn Society and the Green Dragon Society. The Red Thorn Society is the only leader. Where did this curly hair wolf come from? We have to figure this out. Also, who made the club's security pretend not to see anything? Also, who secretly contacted the police? If all these things are connected, this matter is not as simple as tripping me up. This guy, or these people, are involved with the police, the government, and the underworld. Moreover, for the East District Police Department to make such a move, how could it be a small official or a small underworld? Sky Dragon and Yi looked at each other. They really did not think so much. According to Yang Cheng's calculations, there was indeed quite a bit of shady business hidden behind this matter. Yang Cheng yawned and curled his finger at Curly Hair Wolf, who no longer had the slightest bit of arrogance. Curly Hair Wolf's face paled. He trembled as he walked to Yang Cheng. He finally understood that this was the boss. They had hid an iron plate. "Which organization are you from?" "As far as I know, the Red Thorn Society does not have such business." Yang Cheng believed that Xiangwei's subordinates did not need to take on the job of extorting porcelain. At the very least, they could collect protection fees. Sure enough, Curly Hair Wolf whispered, "I am from the White Wolf Society." A flash of understanding flashed in Yang Cheng's eyes. This area was already close to the Su province. It was understandable that the sphere of influence was vague. Moreover, people did not have a note on their forehead. Who would know which gang they were from if they walked on the street? Thinking of Qiangwei's internal injuries from the White Wolf Society, a murderous look flashed in Yang Cheng's eyes, but it disappeared in a flash. There was no need to use such a small character to help Qiangwei vent her anger. "Who instructed you to come here and frame me?" Curly Hair Wolf hurriedly knelt down and cried, "Big brother, spare me. I'm just a small character. I don't know what's going on." "Do you think you can get away with it by saying that?" Sky Dragon also reacted. This matter should not be simple. The National Security Bureau had the responsibility of ensuring social stability and shouldered the responsibility of supervision. He also wanted to investigate clearly how big the fish was behind this. Behind him, a group of Lu Mingyu's classmates watched the show excitedly. They did not expect that this seemingly scoundrel boyfriend of Lu Mingyu's had an impressive background. It looked like he was even more of a Prince's fan than Zhu Kongyu. Zhao Haili was the most surprised. Yang Cheng had shocked her wave after wave, but after thinking about it, she understood. Lu Mingyu was the campus belle. Such a beautiful woman. How could she simply choose a man who was worse than her? Therefore, at this moment, looking at her good sister, she could only feel envy and relief. The one with the worst expression was Zhu Kongyu. He wanted to leave the scene immediately, but if he left now, it would look like he was absconding to avoid punishment. He could only continue watching. Curly-haired wolf whined with tears and snot. "Big brother, I really don't know. I only heard my branch leader give me an order to cooperate with the police officers here to put on a show. I don't know anything else." What nonsense are you talking about?" The police officer was shaken and almost fell to the ground. His face was red as he shouted, "Chief, don't listen to his nonsense. I just happened to be patrolling here and received a notice from the chief, so I came here." The moment he said that, the police officer hurriedly covered his mouth. A notice from a chief? A small case like this needed a personal notice from the chief? Almost everyone subconsciously realized that this matter was orchestrated by someone behind the scenes. Sky Dragon and Yi Zi were both members of the national judiciary. They could not stand such abuse of power by public officials. Immediately, the two of them exchanged a look and decided that this matter could not end so easily. After all, so many people had seen it. If word got out, it would tarnish the reputation of the national government. At this time, Lu Mingyu also figured out why Yang Cheng had asked her to call the police. It seemed that this guy had already planned to expose the whole matter, causing her to be so angry and worried for nothing. She could not help but roll her eyes at Yang Cheng. Now the situation is more or less clear. Not only did someone collude with the White Wolf gang, but he also colluded with the police. This kind of person can be said to eat both the light and the dark side. Yang Cheng seemed to unintentionally turn his head to look at Zhu Kongyu, whose face was as pale as a vegetable. He asked with a smile, "Minister Zhu, who do you think has this kind of ability?" I'm not sure either, Zhu Kongyu smiled stiffly. "Then, Minister Zhu, do you think that such a person should be arrested and punished severely?" Yang Cheng asked again. Zhu Kongyu was deadlocked for a long time. The corners of his mouth twitched, and he forced a smile and nodded. "Yes." Chapter 617. The atmosphere became a little subtle. When Zhu Kongyu said the word should, his face sank and he didn't say a word. Surprisingly, Yang Chun didn't pursue the matter. Even if the people present were blind, they would be able to tell that Zhu Kongyu was the mastermind behind this. Sky Dragon said with a solemn expression, "Yang Cheng, I guarantee that I will report this matter to the headquarters. When the time comes, the Bureau will strictly follow the rules. They will definitely not let go of those who violate the law. Just let them go. There's no need for you to pursue the matter with these ants, right?" After all, they were considered friends. Sky Dragon also called Yang Cheng by his name without any awkwardness. Naturally, Yang Cheng couldn't be too overbearing. "Since you say so, I naturally have to believe you, but let me make things clear. The White Wolf Gang has already been convicted. If I don't hear news of the White Wolf Gang being eradicated in a while, I won't let this matter rest," Yang Cheng said with a smile, but his eyes were filled with killing intent. Sky Dragon was stunned. He didn't understand why Yang Cheng cared so much about the White Wolf Gang. Yi Zifeng couldn't help but ask curiously, "Brother Yang, does the White Wolf Gang have any grudges with you?" "With me? There's no grudge." Yang Cheng shrugged. "However, one of their men injured one of my women, and it was an internal injury." Sky Dragon and Yi Zifeng's hearts skipped a beat. There was actually such a thing? Why didn't they know? Actually, they couldn't be blamed. Lin Ruashi wasn't the only woman by Yang Cheng's side. No matter how much importance the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade placed on Yang Cheng's whereabouts, they wouldn't split up to observe the lives of his women. However, there was one thing that made Sky Dragon and Yi Zifeng realize: the White Wolf Gang was truly finished. Yang Cheng was rather easy to talk to. When he returned to Huaxia, he tried his best to keep a low profile. He even set up a stall to sell mutton skewers in the beginning. It could be said that Yang Cheng had taken action for others to get to where he was today. From Old Li's family, Chiang Wei, to Lin Ruashi, Mo Chinyi, and the other girls, Yang Cheng had no choice but to take action to protect others. It was enough to show that offending the people around Yang Cheng was more displeasing than offending him. The country wouldn't fall out with Yang Cheng for the sake of an underworld force in a region. Moreover, the White Wolf Society had colluded with officials and the judicial department. They had already crossed the line that the underworld shouldn't be involved in. It was only a matter of time before they were wiped out. Perhaps the people of the White Wolf Gang would never have thought that the biggest cause of their trouble was not the collision with the Red Thorns Gang, but the poor acting skills of a few minions. The group of people around saw Yang Cheng talking to Sky Dragon and Yi Zifeng. They couldn't hear what they were talking about, so they looked around curiously. However, they didn't dare to come closer to listen. Sky Dragon said solemnly, "Don't worry. We'll give you justice after the investigation is done. The White Wolf Gang has already brought trouble upon itself." Yang Chen grinned. Suddenly, he took out his phone and dialed a series of numbers. The number was extremely long, completely exceeding the length of existing phone numbers. Moreover, it was messy, like a string of messy numbers. After dialing, Yang Cheng put the phone screen in front of the two. Sky Dragon and Yi Zifeng looked at the number and asked in confusion, "What number is this?" Yang Cheng blinked. "This is Zero's headquarters in Belgium's Brussels. It's a special number that I have exclusive access to. You can write down this number and hand it over to your superiors, be it General Kai, the director of the Bureau, or the director of the National Security Agency. Just tell them that if you feel that there are too many people to eliminate and that it might be too troublesome, I don't mind dialing this number." Sky Dragon and Yi Zifeng's faces turned pale. They more or less understood Yang Cheng's crazy thoughts. "My Zero has always been very efficient," Yang Cheng said softly, but to the two of them, it sounded like the ramblings of a devil. It was understandable if anyone in the World Security Organization didn't know which country's secret special forces were. This was because the special forces were often reorganized. However, no one didn't know what Zero represented. It was the only publicly recognized ace assassin organization in the world, a kingdom of assassins that no one had ever dared to provoke. The literal meaning of Zero was zero, which perfectly expressed another meaning, the source of life, but also the end. Assassin organizations had always been an organization that the international community was extremely disgusted with. They used high salaries as a price to slaughter the political leaders and military officers of various countries. In troubled times, such an organization was very likely to become a new force that would suddenly emerge and break the existing structure. Such an unstable factor naturally had to be nipped in the bud so that the major countries could rest assured. Therefore, very few assassin organizations dared to show their cards openly. Most assassin organizations could only operate underground and absolutely did not dare to challenge the security organizations of various countries. However, ever since the birth of Zero, it was an exception. It wasn't because Zero's assassins were so strong that no one could stop them, but because the first creator Zero was one of the few gods that the major countries only knew of, Hades. For some unknown reason, perhaps it was a whim or some deeper purpose, this Nether King single-handedly established an assassin organization like Zero and personally became its president. After decades of development, almost 80% of the world's powerful assassins were under their net. However, no country dared to stop Zero's development because no one dared to go against a god. However, Zero had always maintained a good style. They never allowed assassins to come into contact with important missions related to destroying the world structure, nor would they kill important people from various countries who played a decisive role. Therefore, although Zero was tyrannical, it didn't cause too much dissatisfaction in various countries. Zero even maintained good cooperative relations with many countries. Belgium provided a building in the capital of Brussels for Zero to use as a secret headquarters. Of course, this matter was not announced to the public. Within Zero, there were countless representative assassins. The most famous among them was naturally the previous president of Yamada's sect, Noriko Okawa, and the new Nether King who completely reorganized Zero after killing a god, Yang Cheng. Yang Cheng's childhood training was also carried out in Zero. He also met Song Tianxing and obtained the Endless Resolve Restoration Scripture in Zero. For a series of reasons, after destroying the old Zero that he hated to the bone, Yang Chung rebuilt the current Zero with some complicated feelings. The number of orders accepted by Zero today was much less than before. Under Yang Cheng's leadership, many assassins had begun to return to the lives of ordinary people. There were also some who entered the Forgotten Kingdom to enjoy their old age. However, there was no doubt that as long as they accepted the orders, there would never be any mistakes. At this time, Yang Chung suddenly brought out the Zero that he controlled. His meaning was already very clear. This time, he was serious. Don't even think about playing any tricks. Sky Dragon smiled bitterly. I will tell everything you said to the general. As for this number, we don't need to remember it. I believe you won't need it anyway. Yi nodded hurriedly. Brother Yang, take a rest. If you really let Zero interfere in this matter, the messenger from Hongmeng might appear again. Because Ling Shuzi appeared once, and the general was changed at the last minute, the existence of Hongmeng was no longer a secret within the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade. Sky Dragon asked with a complicated expression, Yang Chung, aren't you afraid that things will get out of hand and the people from Hongmeng will really attack you? Yang Chung raised his head and sighed. He patted his chest. Of course I'm afraid. Until now, I still don't know if I can defeat Ling Shuzi. I also don't know if there's anyone in Hongmeng who's stronger than him. However, there are some things that I have to do even if I'm afraid. Because of a woman? Sky Dragon frowned and asked in disbelief. If you can't even protect what you cherish while you're alive, what's the difference between you and a dead person? Yang Chung laughed. Don't worry, I'm not that stupid. This kind of thing won't make Hongmeng take action. I haven't shaken the foundation of the country. Moreover, I don't only have Zero. Last time, I sent a small team from Sea Eagles. Also, other than Sea Eagles, I still have enough. Enough. Sky Dragon immediately stopped Yang Chung from continuing. His forehead was full of cold sweat. As long as he thought of the information given by the headquarters about the organizations under Yang Chung who were loyal to him, it would be hard for him not to be terrified. Back then, with his own strength, he became the undisputed king of assassins in the world at a young age. He also became the first man in history to kill a god and become a god. His halo was too dazzling. So many organizations sought his protection and no one could stop him. Sky Dragon and Yi Zi were dumbfounded. Seeing that the situation was about right, Yang Chung took Lu Mingyu to bid farewell to his old classmates and drove away. It was already inevitable that Curly Hair Wolf and his gang would be taken to jail. Even the White Wolf Society was in danger. How could they survive? On the other hand, after Zhu Konyu bade farewell to his classmates with a livid expression, no one dared to question him. However, everyone guessed that the police would find out about him sooner or later. After sending Lu Mingyu home, Lu Mingyu turned her head to look at Yang Chung frequently in the car. Her beautiful eyes sparkled as if she was a groupie. Yang Chung felt like he was walking on air. He said proudly, If you keep looking at me like that, I'll get arrogant. Darling, how many secrets do you have? Lu Mingyu asked curiously. Yang Chung pursed his lips. If you want to know, I'll tell you. About this, I'll have to start from when I was young. Don't say it. Lu Mingyu quickly interrupted Yang Cheng's words. If you say it, it'll be boring. What do you mean by boring? Yang Chung was puzzled. Men are only attractive when they're mysterious. I'm going to dig out your little secrets bit by bit in the future. Only then will it be interesting. If you tell me everything, I'll have nothing to do in the future, Lu Mingyu said excitedly. Yang Chung smiled. It turned out that this woman had this kind of hobby. He shook his head and couldn't deny it. If he didn't tell her his secrets, perhaps Lu Mingyu wouldn't be able to see them all even if she had a few lifetimes. When he sent Lu Mingyu home, it was already sunset. Lu Mingyu asked reluctantly, Are you going back tonight? Why? You slept on your own last night, and now you want to make it up to me? Yang Chung asked with a smirk. Why do you keep thinking about those things? I was just asking casually. Moreover, it's time for dinner. The woman pouted under the afterglow of the setting sun. Yang Chung was actually a little greedy. He had been with Lu Mingyu for a whole day and hadn't tasted any sweetness yet. However, he felt that if he didn't go home for 2 consecutive nights, wouldn't it add fuel to the already terrible relationship between him and Lin Ruoshi? At this moment, his phone vibrated. Yang Chung picked it up and saw that it was Guo Xuehua calling. Yang Cheng made a shushing gesture to Lu Mingyu before picking up. "Hello, Mom. Are you calling me home for dinner? I'm just about to go back." Hearing Yang Cheng calling her mom, Lu Mingyu's eyes widened, and she was so nervous that she didn't even dare to breathe. However, Guo Xuehua said anxiously, "Yang Cheng, where are you? Is it convenient for you to go to Zhenxiu's school at this time? Zhenxiu isn't home yet, and I can't get in touch with her." "Zhenxiu isn't home yet?" Yang Cheng looked at the time. It had been almost an hour since school ended. On a normal day, if Zhenxiu wasn't staying at school, she would have gone home to help with dinner. Guo Xuehua didn't know many places in Zhonghai. Mother Wang was busy at home, and it wasn't convenient for her to drive there. That was why she thought of asking Yang Cheng. As for Lin Ruoxi, she couldn't count on her at all. She had said that she was very busy these days. Yang Cheng immediately said, "Then I'll go to school to look for her now." Don't worry, she might have been revising all the time. There are more extracurricular tutoring sessions, and she might have forgotten the time. Guo Xuehua could only think on the bright side. Although she wasn't related to Zhenxiu by blood, Yang Cheng treated Zhenxiu as his younger sister, and she really treated Zhenxiu as her own daughter. After hanging up the phone, Lu Mingyu knew that Yang Cheng was going to leave, but she still asked curiously, "Who is Zhenxiu? Why haven't I heard you mention her?" Yang Cheng scratched his head and said, "I know a younger sister. She's also a girl that Ruoxi likes a lot. Anyway, she's like a family with us now. Let's meet up in the future. Sai, I'm leaving now. I'll come to see you another day." Lu Mingyu nodded regretfully. Although she was reluctant, she still got out of the car. She could tell that Yang Cheng was actually worried. After saying goodbye to Lu Mingyu, Yang Cheng quickly drove to Zhenxiu's High School. Fortunately, the distance to the school was very short. He arrived at the school gate in less than 10 minutes. After getting out of the car, Yang Cheng slapped his forehead. Right? He still didn't know which class Zhenxiu was in. Where could he find her? Chapter 618. He thought about it and looked at the guard office at the school gate. It didn't seem possible to ask the security guards there. Who would know who the security guards were? The school was so big and there were so many students. Moreover, if he asked them to ask other school staff, they might have already gotten off work. Should he call back and ask for Xuehua? He had never been to Zhenxiu's school before, so he most likely didn't know. Suddenly, Yang Cheng remembered that Lin Ruoxi was very concerned about Zhenxiu's studies. She seemed to have sent Zhenxiu to the school a few times before. Perhaps she should know. At this moment, he was anxious. He didn't care if Lin Ruoxi would pick up the phone or not. Yang Cheng braced himself and dialed the number. After a few beeps, the phone was actually picked up. Lin Ruoxi's clear voice sounded a little tired. "What is it? Why you sound so weak? Did you work overtime again last night?" Yang Cheng frowned. He only knew that Lin Ruoxi had been wantonly buying all kinds of entertainment and leisure industries recently. He didn't expect her to be so desperate. It was as if he had returned to the time when he first met her. "If you have something to say it quickly. I still have a meeting later." Lin Ruoxi didn't intend to chat any further. It's already time for others to get off work, and you still have a meeting? It's pitiful enough to be your subordinate. Yang Cheng sighed. He also knew that it wasn't the time to be nosy. Zhenxiu didn't come home after school. "Mom asked me to come to the school to look for her. I don't know which class Zhenxiu is in, so I wanted to ask if you know." Lin Ruoxi was silent for a while, then said, "Zhenxiu would never not come home for no reason. She is so sensible. She would know to make a call. Such a big thing. Why didn't you tell me earlier?" There was a hint of anger in her tone. Yang Cheng was furious. This wasn't something he could do anything about, so why was she angry at him? He couldn't help but say, "My dear wife, but you are a big so, a busy person. Mom couldn't bear to disturb you, so she sent me. You still have time to mock me? You don't even know which class Zhenxiu is in, and to think that Zhenxiu calls you brother as if you're her own brother," Lin Ruoxi said coldly. "Zhenxiu is in class 2, year 3, and she's sitting in the second row from the back. Her class teacher's surname is Wang, a middle-aged woman. The class location is the second classroom on the east side of the top floor of the second teaching building. Once you're done searching, no matter what the result is, send me a text message." After saying this, Lin Ruoxi hung up the phone. Yang Cheng was furious. This woman really treated him like a servant. A few days ago, she was still coquettishly seducing him and even became a virtuous wife at home. But now, when they spoke on the phone one-on-one, she returned to her cold and indifferent personality. Yang Cheng was already anxious because of Jinxiu's matter. At this moment, Lin Ruoshi's attitude made the guilt in his heart dissipate by half. The two of them seemed to be incompatible, and they probably had a grudge in their previous lives. In a few days, they would have to have an even more intense Cold War. But for the time being, he could only put these worries aside. Yang Cheng ran into the school, and according to Lin Ruoshi's instructions, he went all the way to the second building, Year 3, Class 2. It had to be said that Lin Ruoshi really cared about Jinxiu. She knew everything so clearly. As her brother, he felt ashamed of himself. When he came to the class, Yang Cheng found that there was no one else in the class except for a fat girl wearing glasses sitting in the first row, doing her homework silently. Yang Cheng had to walk forward and asked, "Little girl, is there a girl named Su Jinxiu in your class?" The fat girl with glasses raised her head, blinked her small eyes, and asked in surprise, "Uncle, are you also chasing after our class's Jinxiu?" Yang Cheng was confused. Why was he called uncle again? Jinxiu used to call him that, and so did Tang Tang. Was he really that old? But then he thought, what did she mean by also chasing after our class's Jinxiu? Was there a lot of guys chasing after Jinxiu? Uncle, you don't have to be shy. There are a lot of guys chasing after Jinxiu. You have to work harder. An older man like you looks more mature and has more potential, the fat girl said as if she knew everything. Yang Cheng smiled bitterly. Let's not talk about this anymore. I just want to ask if Jinxiu is home now. The fat girl looked around cautiously, got closer to Yang Cheng, and whispered, "Uncle, actually I don't know if Jinxiu is home or not. I saw Jiao Yinyan bringing Jinxiu out after school, but I don't know where they went. Jiao Yinyan is very powerful. We didn't dare to ask too much, but it's very possible that she wants to bully Jinxiu." Yang Cheng felt a chill in his heart and asked, "Who is Jiao Yinyan?" "She is... the fat girl pouted. "I don't dare to say. I'm scared anyway. I shouldn't say anything." "Uncle, you can't tell anyone that I said anything about Jiao Yinyan. I don't know anything. Uncle, go chase after Jinxiu. Don't let her come to school. She's so pretty. She should get married earlier. It's so hard to study. It's fine if she goes to school. She'll have to worry about getting married." Yang Cheng was embarrassed. Why is this fat girl getting married again and again? Are female high school students nowadays so forward-thinking? They're already thinking about the relationship between studying and getting married in high school. However, the information he received told Yang Cheng that the reason why Jinxiu didn't go home was mostly because of Jiao Yinyan. Looking at this fat girl's fearful look, she was probably a delinquent. But Jinxiu was no longer a delinquent girl. Why would she be involved with a delinquent? Yang Cheng couldn't figure it out, no matter how much he thought about it. He was burning with anxiety. If he were to search class by class or ask someone else, it would be too much of a waste of time. In a flash, he slapped his head. "I'm so stupid. I'm obviously a moving radar. Why did I have to ask someone else?" With his current cultivation, his perceptual ability was no longer the same as before. The range of a school was just a drop in the ocean. Hence, after Yang Cheng walked out of the classroom, he simply closed his eyes and spread out his divine sense. He quickly enveloped the entire school and searched every corner. If a person who understood the martial Tao were to see this level of perception ability, they would surely be incomparably terrified. This was already a mysterious divine ability that transcended the martial Tao, and it was not something that could be explained with the martial Tao. However, Yang Cheng had to explore and comprehend it on his own. He didn't know what he had learned and what his realm was. This exploration was only a matter of seconds. After a while, Yang Cheng opened his eyes. There was a sudden flash of anger in his eyes, and he clenched his fists. He turned around and walked straight to the westernmost corner of the corridor. On the westernmost side of the floor was the male and female toilets on this floor. A wall blocked the entrance of the male and female toilets. However, Yang Cheng didn't walk in the direction of the male toilets. Instead, he went straight to the door of the female toilets. At the door of the female toilets, there was a yellow sign that said cleaning in progress at this time. There was also a bucket used for cleaning blocking the door. Yang Chung kicked away these two things with a blank expression and walked into the female toilets without hesitation. The female toilets were quiet. After school, the door was blocked. Naturally, no one ran to the toilet on the highest floor to use it. Yang Chung walked to the door of a single room at the innermost end of the toilet. He allowed a long sigh and stretched out his hand to open the door. A trembling, delicate girl was sitting on the toilet bowl. Her black, shoulder-length hair was dripping wet, as if she had just washed her hair. However, she had not dried it, and water droplets could be seen dripping down her face. The blue school uniform was also soaked in water. It covered the girl's body. The damp and cold air made the girl's body tremble. The girl's hands and feet were all tied tightly with hemp rope and tape. The girl couldn't easily get rid of the restraint. What was even worse was the girl's lower body. The skirt of the school uniform had disappeared. The girl only wore a small white underwear. Her two white legs were exposed. Her stockings and sneakers were also soaked in water. In such a situation, even if the girl could jump out of the toilet, she didn't dare to go out. She was worried that others would see her ugly, naked lower body. Yang Cheng's eyes were a little bloodshot. The muscles on his face twitched slightly. He even had to use his martial arts to suppress his violent anger. Jinxiu didn't dare to look up. She didn't dare to cry. However, she couldn't help but shake her shoulders as she sobbed. When she found out that the person who came was Yang Chung, she tried not to make a sound. She hoped that Yang Chung wouldn't find her and wouldn't see her at this moment. However, all of this was discovered by Yang Chung. Jinxiu's mind was blank. She wished that all of this was a dream. Even if she was still setting up a stall on the street, it would be better than this moment where she hated herself so much. Yang Chung didn't say anything in the end. Instead, he stepped forward and patiently helped Jinxiu untie the hemp rope and tape on her hands. Then, he squatted down and helped Jinxiu release her feet. He even took off her wet shoes and socks. Because of the long period of tight binding, Jinxiu's two fair and tender calves and ankles were showing signs of blood clots. Jinxiu didn't dare to move. She felt a little shy when Yang Chung fiddled with her two slender legs at such a close distance. However, she felt more complicated and indescribable sadness. Yang Chung held one of Jinxiu's cold hands. A warm and vigorous restoration scripture, true vitality flowed into Jinxiu's meridians. Jinxiu only felt that the coldness in her body was dispelled in an instant. She finally raised her head in surprise. Her eyes were red and swollen from crying. She stared at Yang Chung, speechless. Chapter 619. Yang Chung didn't even consider whether or not he would scare Jinxiu. At this moment, he was extremely distressed. He didn't want Jinxiu to catch a cold, so he didn't mind even if he directly circulated his qi to help Jinxiu get rid of the cold. In the blink of an eye, Jinxiu's hair also dried up. Even the clothes on her upper body were only a little cold, without much moisture. Jinxiu's face originally had the fair and round complexion of a Korean woman. A pair of black, gem-like eyes blinked, delicate pink lips half opened, and that adorable, dumbfounded expression was very attractive. However, Yang Chung didn't have the mood to appreciate the little beauty in front of him. After dealing with these matters, he directly said, "Su Jinxiu, tell me, what's going on?" Jinxiu was a little stunned. Yang Chung usually didn't look serious, but suddenly speaking to her in such a dignified and deep tone, the lass couldn't react. After a long time, Jinxiu faintly said, "It's a girl in our class who played a joke on me, joke?" Yang Chung was so angry that he laughed. "Girl, did you damage your brain by reading too much? Or do you think your big brother Yang is an idiot?" Jinxiu bit her lower lip, unable to say anything. Obviously, she didn't want Yang Chung to ask about the cause of all this. Yang Chung knew that the inside story was definitely not simple. He took a deep breath and said, "That Jiao Yinyin, who is she?" Jinxiu suddenly raised her head, her eyes filled with astonishment. "Yang, big brother Yang, how do you know about Jiao Yin? If I wanted to investigate clearly, do you think you could hide it from me?" Yang Cheng said helplessly. Girl, you weren't like this in the past. Who bullied you? Just say it. The Su Jinxiu I know is that sly little pickpocket on the bus, full of the smell of the pugilistic world, the little chili pepper that was so rude and unreasonable even after being seen through. Look at what you look like now. Regardless of the reason, you were stripped of your skirt, splashed with water, tied up, and locked up in the toilet. You're telling me that those people were joking with you? I've only heard of people getting bolder and bolder, but I've never seen someone as timid as you. You're hiding this from me. Do you still consider me your brother? Jinxiu lowered her head in shame. Brother Yang, let's not talk about me being a pickpocket anymore. It's been so long. Yang Cheng was depressed. This wasn't the main point at all. It's fine if you don't want me to mention it, but you have to tell me the truth. Otherwise, I will tell your Aunt Gua and Sister Ruashi that you used to be a pickpocket on the bus and a delinquent girl with a biker gang. You know their temper. You will suffer. Jinxiu's pretty face turned pale as she pouted in grievance. How can you coerce others like this? You're the one who bullied me. Are you going to tell me or not? Yang Cheng's patience was almost at its end. This girl could make people anxious to death. Jinxiu finally gave in and told him what happened in a low voice. It was indeed Jiao Yinyan, along with her two female followers, who forced Jinxiu to come to the women's restroom after school to talk business. As soon as they entered the women's restroom, the three girls blocked the entrance. Without warning, Jiao Yinyan asked Jinxiu to take off her skirt. Jinxiu wanted to ignore them, but Jiao Yinyan ruthlessly pushed her to the ground. After that, Jiao Yinyan and the other two girls forcefully took off Jinxiu's dress. Then, they took the hemp rope and tape that they had prepared and tied Jinxiu up. Finally, the three girls poured a bucket of cold tap water on Jinxiu's body. Jiao Yinyan and the other two girls were abnormally proud. After doing this, they took away Jinxiu's skirt and said that they were going to eat some snacks outside of school. When they were full, they would return the skirt to Jinxiu. Before that, Jinxiu could only stay in the restroom. Jinxiu's phone was turned off, and her lower body was bare except for her underwear. She didn't dare to let others see it, so she couldn't call for help, which led to the scene that Yang Cheng saw. After listening, Yang Cheng quietly asked, "Why did they do this to you? There must be a reason for doing such an outrageous thing." At this point, Jinxiu didn't hide it anymore and said, "Brother Yang, do you remember that I told you that Lu Mingho left me with a lot of trouble after he left?" Yang Cheng nodded and frowned. "You said that although he left a lot of bad influence, but I didn't ask much at that time. Actually, it's not all Lu Mingho's fault." Jinxiu's pretty face was full of bitterness. "I don't know why either. I just came to school to repeat my studies so that I can work hard to get into a good university. But there are always boys who want to chase after me, and they even say that I'm the school beauty. I rarely leave the classroom, but those girls always think that I'm a vixen, saying that I go around seducing people, especially that Jiao Yinyan. I don't know why she likes Lu Mingho so much and wants to be his girlfriend, but Lu Mingho kept chasing after me. Although I didn't agree, Jiao Yinyan felt that I was stopping her. No matter what I said, it was useless. Not only Jiao Yinyan, but most of the other girls also ignored me. I don't care. I'm just here to listen to the class. But I really don't understand why Jiao Yinyan has to do this. People's jealousy is very scary." Yang Cheng roughly understood the whole story. He stared at Jinxiu's youthful face without any makeup for a while and smiled. "I really didn't expect that the little girl in my eyes, Jinxiu, would be such a powerful school beauty. TSK. Looks like I have a focus on grooming you in the future. Who knows? You might become a superstar like your sister Hui Lin and help the company earn a lot of money." Jinxiu blushed. "Brother Yang, you're not being serious again. Let's not talk about this. It's already so late, and you're still not back yet. Hurry up and go back, lest Ankwa gets worried." Yang Cheng looked down and said with a faint smile, "Don't tell me you want to walk out of school with me in your underwear." Jinxiu suddenly realized that she was still naked down there. She blushed and covered her triangular area with her hands unnaturally. She pursed her lips and didn't know what to do. Thinking about how she had been talking to Yang Cheng with her legs bare for such a long time, Jinxiu felt her heart beating very fast. Then what should we do?" Jinxiu asked softly, no longer as unruly as before. Yang Cheng pursed his lips. Didn't Jiao Yinyin say that she'll return your dress after she's full? They'll definitely come back to see your pitiful face. So, we'll wait for them to come back. Jinxiu was stunned and shook her head hurriedly. Brother Yang, forget it. Don't make a big deal out of it. Because of me. Forget it. Yang Cheng sneered. Su Jinxiu, I'm warning you. I sent you to school so that you can study and prepare for university. I didn't send you here to be bullied. If I let you suffer like this for nothing, I'd rather let you continue selling fried rice cakes on the streets. Jinxiu's eyes were slightly red. She murmured something but didn't say it. At this moment, Yang Cheng keenly sensed that there were 3 brisk footsteps approaching. The corners of his mouth twitched. He pulled Jinxiu up and said, They're back. Let's welcome them. As he spoke, Yang Cheng picked up a big red plastic bucket from the corner and started to fill it with water from the tap. When the blonde Jiao Yinyin and the 2 delinquents walked to the toilet door, they realized that the object blocking their way had been moved away. Immediately, Jiao Yinyin cursed. That son of a b****, don't tell me he let that fox spirit Su Jinxiu go. I don't think so. If Su Jinxiu goes out like that, wouldn't she be laughed at to death? That's true. Let's go in and take a look. Jiao Yinyin chewed on her gum and walked into the toilet with her 2 followers. Suddenly, a splash sound was heard. A bucket full of tap water splashed onto the 3 girls' bodies like a silver waterfall. Jiao Yinyin and the other 2 felt a chill run down their spines. They opened their eyes in a daze and saw an unfamiliar man standing in front of them with an empty red bucket in his hand. It was obvious that all of this was his doing. Damn it, stinky man. Are you courting death? Jiao Yinyin spat her chewing gum onto the ground. Glaring at Yang Cheng, she said, Who are you? Why did you splash water on us? Do you know who I am? Yang Cheng yawned and waved at the stunned Jinxiu, saying, Little girl, go up and beat them up. Jinxiu was startled, her face full of disbelief. Me? Yang Cheng frowned. Of course it's you. Since you've been bullied by them, of course you'll have to use your own hands to seek justice. These 3 brats definitely aren't your match. I'm well aware of that. Jinxiu was a famous delinquent girl in the flying car party. Although she no longer had the ability to fight, her foundation was still there. Yang Cheng was full of confidence in her. Great. I remember now. You're the old man who sent this fox spirit to school. Jiao Yinyin finally recognized Yang Cheng and sneered. Don't think that just because you drive a BMW, you're amazing. My dad can just call a few hundred people and chop you to death. You better kneel down and lick my toes right now. Call me little grandaunt and admit your wrongs. Otherwise, without waiting for Jiao Yinyin to continue, Yang Cheng's figure flashed and appeared in front of her. Then, a slap landed on Jiao Yinyin's left cheek. Jiao Yinyin was like a kite with its string cut. She directly hit the door and slid to the ground. Immediately, blood flowed down from the corner of Jiao Yinyin's mouth. Half of her face began to swell. Jiao Yinyin's 2 lackeys were scared silly. They quickly retreated to the corner, but they didn't dare to rush out of the door. Jiao Yinyin felt like she was seeing stars. She shook her head fiercely and stood up with difficulty. She pointed at Yang Cheng and hissed with tears in her eyes. You bastard! Are you a man or not? You entered the women's restroom. You even hit women? Yang Cheng laughed out loud. My sister has been tied up and poured cold water on me. So what if I enter the women's restroom and hit a woman? Even if I become a transvestite, I am willing. As the sound of his voice faded, Jiao Yinyin was furious, but there was nothing she could do. She had never seen such a shameless man. He entered the women's restroom and said that he was willing to be a transvestite. As for Jinxiu, who was standing at the side, her tears were like a broken string of pearls, unrestrainedly falling down, unable to stop. Yang Cheng's words sounded ridiculous, but in Jinxiu's eyes, this figure in front of her didn't look tall, but it was deeply imprinted in the softest part of her heart. This man actually had nothing to do with her, but time and time again, he made her feel a warmth that she had never felt since she was young. For her, he didn't even care about a man's dignity, but she made him angry. Su Jinxiu, why are you always so useless? Yang Cheng didn't know the countless thoughts in Jinxiu's heart at this moment. Seeing Jinxiu's tears, he only thought that Jinxiu felt pity for him. He sighed and said, "Girl, what are you crying for? Go and beat up those 3 women. Treat them the way they treat you. Don't worry about their revenge. I'm here." Jinxiu wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes and forced a smile as she shook her head. "Forget it, Brother Yang. You've already beaten them so hard. Let's go back." Yang Cheng's face turned cold. "What? You don't have the heart to beat them? Fine, I'll help you." With that, Yang Cheng walked towards Jiao Yinyin again, scaring Jiao Yinyin into immediately hugging the other 2 girls. They were still girls after all, and seeing the fierce Yang Cheng, they were still afraid. "No!" Jinxiu rushed forward to stop Yang Cheng and helplessly gritted her teeth and said, "Brother Yang, don't do it. I'll hit them." Jinxiu also knew that Yang Cheng was a person who would do anything. If she really let him hit them, Jiao Yinyin's face would not just be swollen, but her entire face would be ruined. In desperation, Jinxiu could only turn around and walk towards Jiao Yinyin and the other 2 girls step by step. "You, Su Jinxiu, don't come over." Jiao Yinyin's face was full of panic. She really wanted to run away, but her whole body didn't have any strength, so she could only bluff and shout, "If you dare to hit us, you will definitely be killed by my father." Jinxiu cursed in her heart. How could this woman be so stupid? Doing it herself was giving her way out. In fact, it was to save her, but she still wanted her father to threaten her. Didn't she know that this was adding fuel to the fire? Thinking of the pain, thinking of Jiao Yinyin's repeated humiliation, and today's hatred, Jinxiu finally couldn't hold it in any longer. She rolled up her sleeves, stepped forward, grabbed Jiao Yinyin's collar, and directly threw her to the ground. Back then, Jinxiu relied on her identity as a girl to make a name for herself in the biker gang. Naturally, she had good skills, and fighting was a piece of cake for her. However, after being educated by Choi Yun, she turned over a new leaf. Now, this time, she really hated Jiao Yinyin. All the moves that Jinxiu hadn't used for a long time were all vented out one by one. She hit Jiao Yinyin in all kinds of painful spots, causing Jiao Yinyin to roll on the ground and shout help. Only when Jinxiu started fighting did she realize that her hatred for Jiao Yinyin had accumulated too much. Once the floodgates were opened, it would be very difficult to stop. In the end, Jiao Yinyin and the other 2 girls were all beaten by Jinxiu to the point that they could only lie on the ground, unable to move. Their noses were bruised, and their faces were swollen like 3 pig heads. Jinxiu panted, her face was red, and her forehead was covered in sweat. She suddenly knelt on the ground, as if she couldn't believe that she had really beaten the 3 girls to such a miserable state. Yang Cheng had been watching from the side and didn't stop Jinxiu. He insisted on letting Jinxiu beat up a few female delinquents. He just wanted to let Jinxiu vent out all her negative emotions. These girls who had walked the path of evil should also be taught a lesson. As long as no one died, Yang Cheng wouldn't stop Jinxiu. What Yang Cheng was most worried about was that if Jinxiu continued to suppress herself, her heart would be greatly damaged in the end. Therefore, the result of Jinxiu relaxing was what he wanted to see the most. There's still one last step left. Yang Cheng suddenly walked forward and patted Jinxiu's shoulder. "Go and peel off Jiao Yinyin's skirt, just like how she peeled off yours." Jinxiu calmed down and said guiltily, "Brother Yang, my skirt is here, so you've already done this step. There's still one last step left. Why? Do you still need me to help you peel off their skirts?" Yang Cheng laughed evilly. Jinxiu gritted her teeth and had no choice but to go forward. Ignoring Jiao Yinyin and the other 2's limp bodies, she peeled off their skirts, put on her own skirt, and tidied it up. Yang Cheng took the skirt from Jinxiu's hands and threw it into a toilet bowl without hesitation. Then he said to Jinxiu, "Let's go home." Jinxiu nodded and looked at the half-dead Jiao Yinyin and the other 2 girls without any pity. Instead, she left with Yang Cheng in a relaxed manner. After Jinxiu finished tidying up her school bag and other tools, the 2 of them left the school and got into the car. Yang Cheng wasn't in a hurry to drive. Instead, he made a phone call and told Guo at home that Jinxiu had accidentally fallen asleep on the table because she was too tired. That was why she forgot to call home. Guo felt distressed on the phone, but she didn't suspect much. She just asked the two of them to go back early, and the food was hot. After that, Yang Cheng made a phone call to Qiang Wei. Since Jiao Yinyan had always said that her father was very fierce, Yang Cheng had to be on guard. He asked Qiang Wei to investigate Jiao Yinyan's background and then send people to protect Jinxiu. This kind of small matter was not difficult for Qiang Wei to do. Jinxiu watched Yang Cheng deal with all the things and said, "Brother Yang, I'm sorry." Yang Cheng just started the car and heard these three words. He asked in confusion, "Why are you sorry?" Jinxiu said with a gloomy face, "Since the first time we met, I have been giving you trouble. I can't help you with anything, but I always make you worry about me. You, Sister Ruashi, Aunt Gua, and Mother Wang are all like family to me. Sometimes I really feel that I am so shameless. How can I be so thick-skinned to accept everything you have given me? I'm just a girl from an orphanage. I even did so many bad things in the past and was in the police station, but you have been helping me hide these things. You even sent me to school and gave me such good conditions to enter a university, but I still caused so much trouble in school." Jinxiu was a little choked up as she said this. Her pair of white hands tightly grasped the hem of her skirt. "I really want to study hard and enter a good university in the future. I can earn a lot of money, and then I can repay you. But it seems that I only know how to cause trouble and make you worry. I really feel that I am very useless. I'm sorry." Yang Qing's expression was a little obscure. It seemed like he was listening, but it also seemed like he didn't feel anything. "Su Jinxiu," Yang Cheng suddenly said, "Let me ask you. You want Jiao Yinyan's matter to be left unsettled. Do you also think that you can't cause trouble for me?" Jinxiu nodded and said softly, "Brother Yang, I have already let you down. I really don't want you to waste too much effort on me. I know that you are actually very tired. Although you seem to be laughing and joking, I know that there must be a lot of pressure in your heart that needs to be resolved." Yang Cheng was indifferent. "So you want to hide everything from me?" "Yes." Jinxiu's eyes were sparkling. "Sometimes I wonder why I have such a life. All of this actually doesn't belong to me. Am I too lucky? Why would I meet people like Brother Yang who help me? I even thought that if I hadn't been adopted by an orphanage when I was young, if I had starved to death, if when I was a biker gang member, I had been injured and died in a gang fight, would I not have so much guilt? Would I not be like this now, bringing so much burden to all of you? I was originally a little girl that no one cared about, but I made all of you sacrifice so much for me. I don't think I can take it anymore." Suddenly, the BMW screeched to a halt. Jinxiu leaned forward and looked at Yang Cheng in astonishment. She didn't understand why the car had stopped by the side of the road. Yang Cheng turned his head expressionlessly and said to Jinxiu, "Since you said so, then I'll take you to a place." Chapter 620. Facing Yang Cheng's expressionless face, Jinxiu's heart was a little flustered, but she didn't dare to oppose Yang Cheng's decision. After Yang Cheng finished speaking, he directly found a gap to turn the car around and drove in another direction. He stepped on the gas pedal very deeply, and the car directly sped over the speed limit. Because it was already late at night, and the road they took was relatively remote, so they wouldn't be caught by the police. Jinxiu used to be a biker, so she wasn't too afraid of driving at night. However, Yang Cheng's silent appearance made Jinxiu's heart not dare to relax in the slightest. From time to time, Jinxiu turned her head to look at Yang Cheng, opening her mouth to say something, but stopped. She realized that even if she asked something, Yang Cheng wouldn't answer. In less than 10 minutes, the car passed through a short tunnel and directly arrived at a coastal area of islands. There were several small islands in the northeast sea area of Zhonghai City. Most of these islands were used to build some leisure and entertainment resorts, and also some marine monitoring research institutes. The islands were all connected by cross-sea, cable-stayed bridges. It couldn't be said to be particularly long, but with more than 10 bridges crowded together, it was quite a spectacular scene. At this moment, the lights on the bridges were shining brilliantly, like a fire dragon lying on the waves. But because it wasn't the tourist season and it was dinner time, there were only a few cars passing through here. Yang Cheng drove the car to the central area of a relatively long cable-stayed bridge and parked the car in the emergency handling zone. "Get out." Yang Cheng pulled out the car key and said. Jinxiu was surprised and faintly asked, "Here?" "Yes, here." Yang Cheng finished speaking, opened the door, and walked out. Jinxiu hesitated for a moment. Although she didn't know what Yang Cheng was doing here, she still followed him out of the car. Jinxiu's clothes fluttered noisily in her school uniform and short skirt. She felt a little cold. Her hair was flying in the wind, and it was a little difficult for her to keep her eyes open. At some point, Yang Cheng had already lit a cigarette. The poor quality tobacco burned very quickly in the wind. After a few puffs, half of the cigarette was gone. Walking to the railing of the bridge, Yang Cheng looked at the dark blue waves with a cigarette in his mouth and let out a long sigh. "Girl, come here." Jinxiu shrank back and hugged herself tightly. She walked to Yang Cheng's side in small steps. Looking out from the bridge, the sea was about 30 to 40 meters high. The endless sea was like a dormant beast in the darkness, constantly letting out low roars. Jinxiu panicked, and her voice trembled in the wind. "Brother Yang, let's go back, it's so gloomy here." On the empty sea, on the lonely bridge, Jinxiu was still a girl, less than 20 years old. If it wasn't for Yang Cheng beside her, she would definitely hide in the car and not dare to get out. Yang Cheng suddenly smiled and turned his head. "Go back? Go back where?" Jinxiu was stunned. "Of course. Go home." "Go home? Is that your home?" Yang Cheng asked with an evil smile. Jinxiu's pretty face turned pale, and her eyes were filled with a layer of mist. She couldn't speak. "Didn't you just say that those are not yours? Didn't you say that we treat you well, give you a place to live, eat, and wear, that you are too lucky, that you can't accept it? Brother Yang, what are you stammering for? Didn't you say those things?" Yang Cheng continued to laugh sarcastically. "Since you think that home is not yours, and you feel that you can't accept it, you always bring us trouble. Then why do you still want to go back?" Jinxiu felt her legs began to weaken. She stood there in a daze, unable to speak. Yang Chen sneered. "Su Jinxiu, you said earlier that if no one had taken care of you back then, and let you starve to death, or let you be beaten to death when you were in the biker gang, it might have been a form of release for you. Well, I don't think it's too late now. If you want release." Jinxiu suddenly raised her head and looked at Yang Cheng in disbelief. Brother Yang, you want to..." Yang Chun spat out the cigarette and turned to look at the turbulent sea. He said, "I've thought about it carefully. If someone falls from this bridge, even if they don't drown, they'll probably be hit by the current. They'll either crash into the pier or the reefs and die instantly. There's also some distance from here to the shore. When the body is found, it is estimated that it will be rotten and eaten by the fish." Jinxiu's face turned pale. She looked at Yang Cheng in disbelief and staggered back a few steps. "Jinxiu, you're right. Living is really a burden. You're really tired of living. Your big brother Yang feels sorry for you. Since you feel so uncomfortable, then you can go and get rid of it tonight." Yang Cheng's face suddenly turned cold and said, "Don't worry. If you jump down from here, no one will know. No one will know how you got there. At most, there will be a missing person. Nothing else." Jinxiu shook her head desperately, tears flowing out her eyes. "No, Brother Yang, I don't want. You're lying to me. Are you joking with me?" "Joking?" Yang Cheng scratched his head and sneered. "Do you think today is April Fool's Day? Why would I joke with you?" Jinxiu squeezed out a smile. "No, Brother Yang, you're teasing me again. How could you possibly? Would you?" The smile on Yang Cheng's face disappeared, and it was replaced by a cold expression. "Su Jinxiu, if you can't climb up the railing by yourself, then I can help you. It's still very easy to throw you down." Jinxiu couldn't tell that Yang Cheng was joking at all. Instead, he was speaking to her in an incomparably serious manner. His expression was as if he was about to stab her to death with a knife. Jinxiu shook her head and began to retreat. She muttered something, but her legs didn't have any strength to escape. Yang Cheng didn't say anything else. He directly took a step forward and grabbed Jinxiu's waist with both hands, directly lifting Jinxiu's light body above his head. Jinxiu wasn't paying attention for a moment and realized that her body had already been lifted into the air by Yang Cheng. No matter how she struggled and shouted, Yang Cheng had no intention of letting her go. Stop messing around. With your little strength, you won't be able to break free, Yang Cheng said silently as he walked step by step to the railing. Jinxiu watched helplessly as Yang Cheng stretched his body out of the range of the railing. Beneath him was the churning sea. The pitch-black seawater was like a demon that wanted to devour him, roaring nonstop. Brother Yang, I don't want to die. I don't want to die, Jinxiu cried hysterically. Yang Cheng snorted lightly, without any intention of redeeming himself. He let go of his hands. Jinxiu only felt her body lighten, and then a force that could not be resisted dragged her body down, and she began to fall faster and faster. Jinxiu's eyes widened as if she had forgotten to breathe. In her mind, the blurry faces of her parents when she was young appeared, and the yellowish scene of her frolicking with a group of children in the orphanage. When Grandma Cha hugged her and teased her, learning the simplest alphabet with a group of children, and when Lin Ruoshi and the old CEO came to visit her, spring, summer, autumn, and winter, fragments of memories that he had almost forgotten. The scene of her running on the streets after leaving the orphanage with tears streaming down her face. The scene of her hanging out with a group of biker gang delinquents. The scene of her being caught as a pickpocket and thief, meeting Yang Cheng, then meeting Lin Ruoshi and integrating into a new family. The voices and smiles of Mother Wang, Guo Shihuahua, and the others flashed before her eyes. And even Mother Wang's voice calling her downstairs for dinner echoed in her ears, finally. The indifferent face of Yang Cheng, the man who brought her to heaven and now sent her to hell. Jinxiu didn't know what was wrong with her. She was about to be swallowed by the sea, but she couldn't feel any fear. Instead, she only felt reluctance. The crystal-clear tears were like pearls, drifting in the air, quietly disappearing without a trace. Jinxiu closed her eyes. The time of falling seemed to be a moment, but also as long as a few centuries. Jinxiu felt that her body was getting lighter and more relaxed, and the sea breeze seemed to be able to blow her up into the sky. Shouldn't the sea be cold? But why did she feel warmth? Jinxiu gradually realized that the situation was different from what she had imagined. After such a long time, even if it was a fall of a few hundred meters, she should have reached the end, but she didn't fall into the sea. Between her nose and mouth, she smelled a familiar scent. She slowly opened her eyes, and what entered her eyes was still Yang Cheng. However, on Yang Cheng's face, there was the usual gentle smile. Everything that happened just now, although it happened in a flash, to Yang Cheng, after throwing Jinxiu off the bridge, he jumped down and stood on the surface of the sea to catch Jinxiu. As for the process of stepping on the surface of the sea and then jumping onto the bridge, to Yang Cheng, it was simply a small trick. It was a pity that Jinxiu didn't have the chance to see all of this. Girl, had you thought it through? Yang Cheng hugged Jinxiu's soft body and suddenly asked with a smile. Jinxiu's nose turned sour, and she suddenly felt incomparably wronged. Without saying a word, she directly opened her mouth and bit towards Yang Cheng's shoulder. Separated by a layer of clothes, Jinxiu bit fiercely. As she bit, her tears kept falling, soaking half of Yang Cheng's shoulder. Yang Cheng didn't stop her. When Jinxiu had bitten enough and had no strength left, he said, "I thought you would bite Big Brother Yang's face, and I was still considering whether or not you would be disfigured. At least you have a conscience." "I hate you." Jinxiu punched Yang Cheng's chest. At this moment, she finally understood the situation just now. Although she didn't know how Yang Cheng saved her, it was clear that Yang Cheng was just scaring her. Yang Cheng smiled and said, "If you hate me, then hate me. It's better than not being able to stand up to me." Jinxiu's eyes were red, and she suddenly hugged Yang Cheng's neck tightly. Yang Cheng helplessly reached out and gently patted the girl's back, saying, "Su Jinxiu, never feel that you are a burden to those who love you. You are the one and only Su Jinxiu in this world. Your life, whether it is for you or for all of us, is the most precious." Chapter 621. In a humid sea breeze, Yang Cheng's words were like a warm current, making Junxio's body and mind soften. After a moment of silence, Yang Cheng put down Junxio in his arms and stroked the girl's hair. The orange light from the cable-stayed bridge shone on their faces. Junxio's tear-stained face was a little childish as she pouted, hitting me with a stick and then giving me a carrot. "Brother Yang, are you trying to pick me up, so you're doing this on purpose?" Yang Cheng's mouth twitched. "Can't you think of something good in your melon brain? For example, as an older brother, you need to correct your younger sister's lifestyle." Junxio bit her lower lip and suddenly tiptoed and pecked Yang Cheng's lips. Yang Cheng didn't expect Junxio to do this. He only felt the cold and soft lips slightly pressing on his mouth, and then leaving in the blink of an eye. Junxio's charming face blushed. This was the first time since she was born that she took the initiative to kiss a man. Don't let your imagination run wild. As if to cover up her embarrassment and shyness, Junxio raised her head and chest and said with a red face, "This is a kiss from a younger sister to an older brother. There's no other meaning." Yang Cheng sighed silently in his heart. The more this girl said so, how could he not know what she was thinking? However, his side was already chaotic enough. Moreover, he had always treated Junxio as a younger sister and was like a family member at home. How could he have any excessive thoughts towards her? Moreover, when Junxio entered the house, Lin Ruoshi had already suspected it. Now, if he really did something ridiculous, how would Lin Ruoshi view him? A complete beast who wouldn't let a single one of them go. Moreover, Guo Xiuhua and Mother Wang were also a little unreasonable. Junxio was a sensible girl. Of course, she knew this. However, sometimes people couldn't control their feelings. Yang Cheng smiled faintly and didn't reply. He acted as if nothing had happened and said, "Let's go home and eat dinner. I'm hungry. If we don't go back soon, they might take away the food." Junxio breathed a sigh of relief in her heart, but she also felt a little disappointed. She nodded and followed Yang Cheng back to the car. 20 minutes later, Yang Cheng quickly drove home. As soon as he arrived at the door, Yang Cheng suddenly slapped his forehead. "Aya!" Junxio was shocked. She didn't know what happened to Yang Cheng. She asked doubtfully, "Brother Yang, did something happen?" Yang Cheng smiled bitterly. He really made a mistake. Just now, he picked up Junxio, called Guo Xiuhua, and asked Qian Wei to investigate Jiao Yinyan's background. How could he forget to reply to Lin Ruoshi's text? This time, Lin Ruoshi must have thought that he was deliberately angering her and throwing a tantrum with her. People weren't saints, and it was inevitable to make mistakes. But this time, Yang Cheng wanted to cry, but had no tears. With a sigh, Yang Cheng shook his head to indicate that it was fine. Then, he opened the door and walked in. In the house, Guo Xiuhua and Mother Wang were sitting on the sofa. They didn't turn on the TV. Obviously, they were waiting for Yang Cheng and Junxio to come home. Seeing that Junxio came back safely, Elder Guo and Elder Wang were relieved. They quickly arranged for Yang Cheng and Junxio to have dinner. The food was still hot, which warmed Yang Cheng's heart. As for Junxio, she was asked many questions by Guo Xiuhua. Junxio's eyes were a little red. Of course, Junxio wouldn't tell them the truth. That would scare the two elders to death. So, she simply made up a story that she colluded with Yang Cheng. As for whether Guo Xiuhua and Elder Wang believed her, it was another matter. After dinner, Junxio wanted to help wash the dishes, but Mother Wang felt bad for the girl who had been studying for the whole day. So, she only asked Junxio to go upstairs to rest. Seeing that Junxio went upstairs, Guo Xiuhua moved closer to Yang Cheng and asked, "Son, did you bully Junxio?" Yang Cheng was stunned. Why would I bully her? After saying that, he felt guilty. It was for her own good that he threw her into the sea. Guo Xiuhua squinted at Yang Cheng for a while and said, "The Star Moon Group in Korea wants to bring Junxio back. Although Junxio doesn't want to leave now, they are her real family. Who knows when Junxio will go back to Korea? Treat Junxio well while she is still in our house. If I find out that you bullied Junxio, I will stand on the same side as Ruoshi." Yang Cheng's scalp went numb. Who would threaten his son like that? He smiled bitterly and said, all right. You make it sound like I'm so evil. Why would I bully that girl for no reason? I can't even take care of my own business. Guo Xuehua nodded. It was obvious that she had noticed something, but she did not pursue the matter further. Yang Qing walked back to his room upstairs listlessly. It had been a long day. He walked into the bathroom and took a shower. After changing into a clean short-sleeved shirt and shorts, he was about to go to bed early when he heard someone knocking on the door. Judging from the frequency of the knocking, Yang Cheng immediately determined that Lin Ruoshi was back. Only this woman's knocking would sound so solemn. Yang Cheng was helpless. He had to face what he had to face. So, he walked to the door and opened it. He smiled apologetically and greeted, "My dear wife, you're home. Hee, it's been hard working. Is there anything I can help you with?" Lin Ruoshi had her hair tied up. She was wearing a wide-collared suit and ankle-length beige trousers. Her slightly tired face was calm and indifferent. Her black gem-like eyes were staring at Yang Cheng. "Don't you know that you're very childish?" Lin Ruoshi said coldly. Yang Cheng couldn't complain, even though his hot face was stuck to a cold, but listen to my explanation. I just had a lot of things to do, so I forgot? Too many things to do. You have time to call home, but you don't have time to send me a text message. Even if it's just 2 words. How are you doing? You can't even spare me the time for 2 words? Lin Ruoshi asked coldly. Yang Cheng was speechless. He was indeed in the wrong. He took the initiative to call her to ask about Jinxiu, but in the end, he didn't tell her how Jinxiu was doing. "Do you know how anxious I was during the meeting? I put my phone on the table and stared at it while I was waiting for your text message." Lin Ruoshi said, "But you didn't even send me a single word until the meeting ended absent-mindedly." Yang Cheng didn't dare to get down to business with Lin Ruoshi's piercing gaze. Shanshan smiled and said, "Actually, if you're in a hurry, you can call me. It's not like I'm in a meeting. I really forgot. No other meaning." Lin Ruoshi sneered. "Call you? How would I know that you didn't want to ignore me on purpose?" "That's not right." Yang Cheng hurriedly explained, "I definitely didn't mean to avoid you on purpose. Ruoshi, just believe me. I really forgot." Lin Ruoshi stared at Yang Cheng for a while, then turned around and walked back to her room. "Forget it. What you think is none of my business. I'm tired. I'm going back to my room to rest." Yang Cheng frowned. Wouldn't this matter worsen the already tense relationship between the two of them? At this moment, Lin Ruoshi suddenly stopped in her tracks and said in a low voice, "I forgot to tell you, because you don't have the ability, Chinny's condition is very bad right now. If you can't let those women who like you live a good life, then you'd better put away your playful thoughts." Hearing that, Yang Cheng hurriedly asked, "What happened to Chinny? What's wrong?" Lin Ruoshi sneered, turned around, and said, "Do you really think that just because you're called a god by others, you're really a god? Do you really think others have no self-respect? I really don't know what you're thinking. You actually let Mom and Annie Mom meet, and you didn't even tell Annie Ma about your marriage with me. What's even more ridiculous is that you actually colluded with Mom to hide it from me." Yang Cheng's face was a little awkward. "You know, why don't I know? Do you really think these things can be hidden from the world? I also know that you're working in a Sichuan restaurant with Annie Ma. She scolded you that day, and Chinny was absent-minded at work." Lin Ruoshi said, "In fact, it doesn't matter if you hide it from me or not. I advise you to give up. Annie Ma won't agree to it. Instead of letting Chinny suffer like this, I think it's better for you to break up." Yang Cheng frowned. He suddenly thought of a question and said, "How do you know that I took Mom to see the mother and daughter that day? Did Mom tell you?" Lin Ruoshi snorted. "Mom has always been helping her son. Why would she tell me these things? Did Chinny tell you?" As soon as Yang Cheng finished speaking, he immediately said, "Impossible. Why would Chinny mention these things to you?" Lin Ruoshi realized something and said with dissatisfaction, "Who told me that it's so important? Yang Cheng, what are you thinking?" Yang Cheng took a deep breath and said, "Only Chinny and I, as well as Mom and Auntie, know about this matter. Did I tell you? What I mean, you know it yourself." Lin Ruoshi's pretty face turned pale. She was so angry that her body trembled. "You mean, I'm spying on you?" Yang Cheng shook his head indifferently. "Spying on me, I can definitely find out, but spying on Chinny is something I can do." When we went to Hong Kong on a business trip, were we both in your calculations? With your means, it's not difficult to know these things. If you didn't use some method to spy on Chinny, how could you know what happened that day? You actually think I would do that kind of thing? Lin Ruoshi's eyes widened. Her eyes were slightly red. Yang Chung touched his forehead in pain. Ruoshi, I don't blame you for doing these things. I just hope that you don't look at Chinny as an enemy, and don't do that kind of thing to Mingyu and Anshin. This isn't cheating in the business world. If Chinny knew that you did this, how disappointed would she be? Disappointed? Lin Ruoshi was so angry that she laughed. That's right. How disappointed would she be? What? Aren't you disappointed? Finding out that I'm actually a snake and scorpion, an incomparably sinister woman. Aren't you disappointed? Yang Chung shook his head. I don't know. I feel like my mind is in a mess. Lin Ruoshi bit her lower lip and turned her head. She inadvertently reached out to wipe the corner of her eyes and walked straight back to her room. When Lin Ruoshi closed the door, Yang Chung raised his head and let out a turbid breath. Whenever he thought of Mo Chinny's dejected look at work, Yang Chung found it hard to calm himself down. But at this stage, he couldn't think of any good way to make up for it. Lin Ruoshi's words and actions made him feel helpless. He didn't know how to reconcile the contradictions and misunderstandings between them. Thinking of this, Yang Chung didn't feel sleepy anymore. He walked downstairs and planned to go to the kitchen to get a bottle of red wine. He wanted to drink a glass before returning to his room to sleep. When he reached the kitchen, Mother Wong had just finished tidying up and was preparing some ingredients for tomorrow's breakfast. When she saw Yang Chung coming downstairs, Mother Wong seemed to recall something. She hesitated for a moment before saying, "Young master, I want to ask you something." Yang Chung nodded. "What is it?" "Mother Wong, why are you being so courteous with me?" Mother Wong smiled and said, "Young master, I can't help it. I want to ask, do you and Miss Mo have anything to do with each other?" Yang Chung was stunned. This Miss Mo, of course, was referring to Mo Chinny. But how did Mother Wong know about it? "Mother Wong, why would you ask this?" Yang Chung frowned. Mother Wong seemed to have confirmed something. She sighed and said, "Sigh, this matter is blown up. I didn't know about it at first. But this morning, Miss Mo's mother, Annie Ma, called our house and asked if Miss was at home. Miss is at work, so she asked me for her phone number. I was just curious and wanted to ask why Annie Ma rarely called. When the old CEO was still alive, she would call to ask about Miss Mo's situation. We haven't contacted each other in recent years. Who knew that Annie Ma would only say something like, 'I'm sorry' to General Lin, and 'I'm sorry' to the old so I thought of something." Yang Chung was completely stunned. His heart felt like it had been pierced by a needle. He murmured to confirm, "Mother Wong, you mean Annie Ma called Ruoshi?" Mother Wong nodded. "She probably did. She even asked me for her phone number." "What's wrong? Did something bad happen to young master?" Mother Wong asked worriedly. Yang Chung raised his head and sighed. He finally understood why Lin Ruoshi knew what had happened that day, why Lin Ruoshi knew that Ma Guifeng had rejected him, and why Lin Ruoshi had looked so angry and cold when he said that she was being monitored. He could only smile bitterly. He couldn't say a word. Chapter 622. Since he had misunderstood her, Yang Chung did not intend to be a coward. Although he knew that if he apologized now, Lin Ruoshi would be angry, he still had to show his attitude. Therefore, Yang Chung did not bother to take the red wine and directly rushed to the second floor, arriving at the door of Lin Ruoshi's room. After thinking about what to say, Yang Chung cautiously knocked on the door. Knock, knock, knock. There was no movement in the room, as if there was no one inside. However, Yang Chung could feel that Lin Ruoshi was inside, but there was no response. Yang Chung was helpless. Although he was thick-skinned, he was not so reckless. If he forced his way in at this time, regardless of whether he apologized sincerely or not, Lin Ruoshi would be particularly angry. Yang Chung could only stand at the door and sincerely said, "Ruoshi, I know I misunderstood you. It's my fault. Please be magnanimous and forgive me this time. Next time, I won't doubt you without distinguishing the facts, I promise." There was still no movement in the room. Yang Chung was a little depressed. He could only stand there and say such words. After waiting quietly for a while, Lin Ruoshi still had no intention of opening the door. Yang Chung could only walk back to his room weakly. His mind was in a mess. There was no solution to the problem of Mo Chinni, and now Lin Ruoshi was too lazy to care about him. Yang Chung suddenly felt that he had really failed. He lay in bed all night thinking about how to be forgiven. It was not until the next day, when he got up and went downstairs, that Yang Chung finally saw Lin Ruoshi sitting there eating breakfast with Jinxiu. Yang Chung was about to go up and say something, but he saw a flash of disgust between Lin Ruoshi's eyebrows. She put down her chopsticks, stood up, and said to Mother Wong, who came out of the kitchen, "Mother Wong, I'm full. I'll go to work first." Mother Wong was stunned. "Miss, why did you eat so little?" "I'm not hungry," Lin Ruoshi said perfunctorily. She picked up her bag, turned around, and left. Yang Cheng's mouth was half open. He swallowed the words he wanted to say. He didn't expect Lin Ruoshi to not even have the intention to talk to him. It was really frustrating. Jinxiu's big watery eyes turned to Yang Chung. "Brother Yang, did you do something that Ruoshi's sister hates again? She seems to be angrier than before." Yang Chung was speechless. She glanced at Jinxiu and thought, how could she not be angry? I trusted her before, but this time I actually dared to doubt her. There was no medicine for regret in this world. If there was, Yang Chung would have wanted to get one, even if he had to spend all his money. Mother Wong pursed her lips and shook her head, but didn't say anything. She only slowly scooped a bowl of millet porridge for Yang Chung, as if telling him to do as he saw fit. After Yang Chung finished his breakfast in a daze, he wanted to send Jinxiu back to school. However, Jinxiu rejected him, saying, "I don't want to see Brother Yang's bitter face." This made Yang Chung very conflicted. Since no one loved him, Yang Chung could only go to work at the company. Speaking of which, it had been a few days since he sat in the office properly. Ever since Star of Yulei ended, the company's reputation rose, and many things were on the right track. With Wang Jie and Zhao Teng taking care of the internal and external matters, Yang Chung was very relaxed as the director. When he arrived at the office, Yang Chung realized that An Xin, whom he hadn't seen for a few days, had come to work again. She was wearing a light yellow pleated dress, revealing half of her shoulders, and her hair was neatly combed behind her ears. Her fresh and elegant dressing added a hint of orchid temperament to the originally bright and beautiful woman, which surprised Yang Chung a little. Sitting on Yang Cheng's big leather chair as the director, An Xin was bending over the table and reading some documents. Compared to the sloppy guy Yang Chung, An Xin, who had been nurtured by a good family's daughter since young, was more like a director. Seeing Yang Chung enter the office, An Xin raised her head and smiled sweetly. "Dear, you're late. Is there a day that I'm not late?" Yang Chung pursed his lips and walked forward. He moved closer to An Xin's fair face and said with a smile, "I didn't know that my darling An Xin had such a delicate side to you. From the looks of it, Demoness and is going to become fairy in TSK. It's really hard to choose." An Xin pouted. "I've been a Demoness for so long that I'm almost becoming a Demoness myself. In order to make the people around you like me, I have to at least look more proper from today onwards." Although her words sounded a little childish, Yang Chung was quite touched when he heard it. Previously, when he met with Guo Xiuhua, Mother Wong, and the others, Lin Ruoshi saw their intimacy. Although no one was against An Xin, it was obvious that An Xin felt excluded. She was destined to be the third party. This feeling of powerlessness made her unable to come to work and meet Yang Chung. Now that she was back at work again, she did not have any complaints. She only changed her makeup, hoping that her elegant appearance would be more acceptable. Yang Chung reached out and pinched An Xin's tender face. "Whether you're a Demoness or a fairy, I like you both." An Xin smiled sweetly, then pointed to the document in her hand and said, "Before you came, I was looking at the publicity plan. It's about the release of Hui Lin's new album and concert. Do you want to take a look?" Hui Lin's concert? Yang Chung did not expect Hui Lin to hold a concert so soon. This girl was too efficient. An Xin nodded. Although Hui Lin's popularity is not as high as some of the older celebrities, she has the advantage of being recognized by the public. Not only that, she has the support of a super queen like Kristen. Moreover, Her mysterious background has piqued everyone's curiosity. Therefore, her popularity is enough for her to hold a concert. Moreover, Hui Lin is from Beijing. Therefore, holding a concert in Beijing will definitely be a success. Yang Cheng smiled. According to what Anshin said, Hui Lin's mysterious background must be related to Abbasia Miao. Although the Lin family was not as rich as the Big Four families, they still had an official background. If the children of the Lin family entered the entertainment industry, it will be detrimental to the country's prestige. Therefore, even if the media and paparazzi found out about Hui Lin's real background, they wouldn't dare to publish it. They were afraid of getting into trouble. If there were a few hotheads, they would probably be eliminated at the source. This was also one of the main reasons why Abbasia Miao didn't approve of her granddaughter becoming a singer. However, Abbasia Miao had a soft heart when it came to Hui Lin. When that girl really started to sing, Abbasia Miao could only help her granddaughter clear the obstacles. However, Yangchen wasn't in the mood to read the proposal. He lazily walked to the sofa at the side and lied down. He said, "If it's feasible, help me stamp it. I don't know much about operations." Anshin could hear something strange in Yang Cheng's tone. She asked hesitantly, "Hubby, is there something on your mind?" Yang Chun smiled bitterly. "I can't believe you can tell. This is the first time I've seen you so listless," Anshin said worriedly. Yang Cheng felt that there was nothing to hide. He might even be able to get some advice from Anshin. Therefore, he briefly told her about Mo Qianyi and Lin Ruoxi. In the end, he asked in distress, "Babe Anshin, you're a woman. Tell me, how should I get my mother-in-law to agree to my relationship with Qianyi and make Ruoxi forgive me?" Anshin looked at Yang Cheng blankly. She didn't expect to know that Yang Cheng had so many things on his mind. "Hearing you say that, I feel that my matters are nothing," Anshin said softly. "Although I'm a woman, I'm not a mother yet. So, I can't completely understand what that Annie is thinking. I think that as a mother, there must be some emotions that others can't feel." Yang Cheng was silent. This was also one of the main reasons why he couldn't find a solution. He had no position to convince Ma Guifang. However, Anshin pursed her lips and said, "General Lin is angry at you, but it's not difficult to solve. At the very least, I don't think that General Lin is that kind of woman who is too petty." Previously, the only one who had interacted with Lin Ruoxi a lot was Anshin. Therefore, when Anshin suddenly said this, Yang Cheng immediately became spirited. Anshin thought for a moment and said, "I feel that if you want Sister Lin to forgive you, the best way is to let her see your sincerity. I'm just short of kneeling in front of her room. How am I going to show her my sincerity? Do I have to stab myself with a knife?" Yang Cheng smiled bitterly. Anshin rolled her eyes at him and said, "No wonder Sister Lin is always angry at you. Do you only know these hard methods? You have to think about what she likes and what she wants. Don't you understand Sister Lin at all?" Yang Cheng's mind suddenly came to a realization. That's right. How could he have forgotten? Back then, didn't Tang Wan tell him to properly understand Lin Ruoxi's past? He had a lot of things to do and didn't think about it. When Anshin mentioned it, Yang Cheng finally found the crux of the matter. Immediately sitting up from the sofa, Yang Cheng took out his phone and dialed his home number. The one who picked up the phone was Mother Wang. Yang Cheng hurriedly asked, "Mother Wang, do you still remember the names of Ruoxi's kindergarten, primary school, middle school, and high school?" Mother Wang was full of doubts on the other end. She said, "Of course I remember. When Miss went to school when she was young, I often accompanied her. Why are you suddenly asking about this?" Yang Cheng chuckled and said, "It's nothing. I just want to know more." "Mother Wang, just tell me." An XIN who was listening to Yang Cheng excitedly making a phone call at the side had a trace of a smile in her eyes. She also felt a little envious. Will there come a day when this man will also ask me where I went to school when I was young? Beijing, Li family, Li Motion study. On the chair, Li Mozhen wore a suit jacket and looked at the middle-aged man in military uniform sitting in front of him with a smile. "It's so early in the morning. Why does General Kai have time to come here? Are you here for morning tea?" Li Mozhen looked kind as if he was looking at his own nephew. He didn't look like the iron-fisted ruler of the security bureau at all. It was Kai Yunqing's first time coming to the Li family's headquarters. Although the Li family's son, Sun Yongye, had always been pursuing his daughter. Kai Yunqing had never thought of relying on his daughter to make a name for himself. He didn't even when he wasn't the general of Yellow Flame Iron Brigade. Now that he was in control of Yellow Flame Iron Brigade, he could be said to have half a foot in the same boat as the Li family, but he still kept a certain distance from the Li family. Kai Yunqing smiled and shook his head. He picked up the porcelain bowl and took a sip of the steaming hot tea. This was personally served by the eldest son of the Li family, Li Yunpeng. This handsome middle-aged man in a conservative Chinese tunic suit was actually about the same age as Kai Yunqing. He was standing beside Li Mozhen with a warm smile, but didn't say a word. It was strange that the eldest son of the Li family, Li Yunpeng, had always been like an assistant to his father, Li Mozhen, and rarely showed his talents. On the other hand, his son, Li Dun, was as famous as Yin Buan, the Yin Jin King duo. He was the leader of the younger generation in Yin Jin. It was as if the Li family had directly transitioned from Li Mozhen to Li Dun, and Li Yunpeng was just a bridge to give birth to a son. However, anyone with a brain would not underestimate the low-key Li Yunpeng, because a middle-aged man who was able to accompany his father to do odd jobs in such a family, no matter what the reason was, had an absolutely strong heart. "Chief, if it wasn't for something urgent, I wouldn't dare to disturb your leisure time," Kai Yunqing said straightforwardly. Li Mozhen narrowed his eyes. Although Yellow Flame Iron Brigade is a subordinate department of the Security Bureau, it has always been free to do whatever it wants. That's how it was in the past. Now that General Kai has taken office, there won't be any changes. If there's anything you need me to do, feel free to tell me. Kai Yunqing thought for a while and subconsciously knocked on the armrest of his chair. Something happened in Zhonghai. Li Mozhen's expression didn't change, but he asked directly, "Is it about that kid from the Yang family?" "That's right." Kai Yunqing smiled faintly. Sky Dragon and Yi Zi, who were in charge of watching over him, reported to me last night that Yang Chun had a conflict with the White Wolf Society and the Zhu clan of Su Province. I have sent the specific information to the archives. Chief, you can take a look at it. Li Mozhen nodded and turned to his son, Li Yunpeng. Li Yunpeng understood and took out a laptop from a cabinet. He opened it for his father and connected it to the Security Bureau's archives. Li Mozhen clicked on the details of the incident and some background information. After a brief look, his face darkened. The White Wolf Gang is deeply rooted in the Su province. They have been in contact with the Zhu family for a long time. If we make a move against them, it will definitely hurt them. Kai Yunqing smiled bitterly. I think so too. The Zhu family has a lot of power in the Su province. There are also many retired special forces in the White Wolf Gang. With them in the Su province, the Su province's underworld will be stable. Originally, we kept them because we needed each other. But now, Yang Cheng is serious about making a move against them. Once he has made up his mind, he won't change it. Li Mozhen frowned. Why? Doesn't he care about what happened to Hong Ming? Kai Yunqing said, Sky Dragon told me that Yang Cheng doesn't care if Hong Ming is involved or not. He wants the White Wolf Gang dead. Also, if we don't make a move, he will use his overseas forces to do it himself. Ha ha! Li Mozhen suddenly laughed out loud, his spirits lifted. He's indeed Yang Goming's grandson. I thought he would keep hiding, but when it comes to it, he really dares to do anything. Fine. White Wolf Gang will be in trouble. Let's do it. Kai Yunqing frowned when he saw Li Mozhen had made up his mind so quickly. Chief, if the White Wolf Gang makes a move, the underworld in the Su province will be in chaos. If we make a move against the White Wolf Gang, the Zhu family will be killed. That means the higher-ups in the Su province will have to reshuffle the cards. The National People's Congress has just ended. Then what should we do? Li Mozhen pointed to the south. That brat from the Yang family in Zhonghai doesn't care about anything anymore. If Hong Ming doesn't make a move, the Security Bureau and the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade may not be as strong as his two mercenary corps, even if we combine our forces. Even if there are only a few assassins from zero, we won't be able to defend against them. This is something we can't stop. Instead of letting the brat from the Yang family cause chaos, we might as well kill them ourselves. That way, we won't be able to rest easy. Kai Yunqing looked as if he had just woken up from a dream. His eyes were filled with admiration. He finally realized that he had been worrying about nothing. Yellow Flame Iron Brigade surveillance of Yangcheng did not have any substantial effect. Since Yangcheng was so straightforward about destroying the White Wolf Gang and the Zhu family, if Hongming did not appear, what was the point of struggling? Elder Li is wise. Kai Yinqing did not call him director this time. He stood up and bowed. If that's the case, the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade will be in charge of this operation. We are better at doing things in the dark. Li Mozhen did not have any objections. He smiled and said, General Kai, why don't you come visit us more often in the future? My nephew's son, Yongyi, is going to marry your daughter, Flower Rain. In the future, the Kai family and the Li family will be in-laws. We should interact more. When Kai Yunqing heard this, he felt a little emotional. Now that things had come to this, he felt sorry for his eldest daughter, Kai Ning. However, he knew that the only ones who could save Kai Ning were the Li family, so he smiled and nodded before leaving. After Kai Yunqing left, Li Yunpeng asked, Father, are we really going to destroy the White Wolf Gang and the Zhu family? Half of the Su province is going to collapse. Li Mozhen squinted his eyes and said, This is all Yangcheng's fault. We were just forced to do it. If something really happens, it's not our fault. But Li Yunpeng had a strange look on his face. I really don't know what Yangcheng is thinking. If he does this, there's no guarantee that the Hongming ambassador won't look for him. Li Mozhen smiled and said, Even Yang Gongming is not anxious. Why are you worried about him? Li Yunpeng smiled shyly and said, I'm just lamenting why he always challenges the bottom line of others when he has such generous conditions. Why doesn't he just stay abroad and enjoy his life? Yunpeng. Li Mozhen turned his head and looked at the bright morning light outside the window. He said slowly, That kid from the Yang family. It's already a great miracle that he could live for more than 10 years. You can't use normal logic to think about his decisions. When it comes to an unknown like him, no one can really grasp the absolute advantage. Li Yunpeng was silent, as if he was thinking about the meaning of his father's words. Yang Gongming, Li Mozhen mumbled to himself, Even I'm a little impressed by you, he.